Okay, so I'm going to try doing the live again. The numbers were being massively restricted. Apparently the signal was going, but not too sure about that. It looks as though it's okay on my end. Hi Abby, I hope you're doing okay. So I was talking earlier, I've been trying to do a video, literally not a live, but a normal video, and I just could not get the right words out, and I redid it about 20-30 times. So I thought I'd come on live and just talk about how I'm feeling in all of this. It's really quite mind-blowing, everybody, what I'm finding on a daily basis, and even the evidence that has recently been acquired in relation to my dog Rosie, that I'll come into about that in a moment. But every single angle I come in from, it makes links to me, and it's very clear that there is a system of international government collaboration over an operation or project with me at the center of this. This would explain why they introduced me to Exbourne Manor, which was connected to Jimmy Savile, and how this has led me to a church in Wales that becomes relevant to me, and reference is into the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail, which connects to a location called Castell Henleys, which links to the Bulmers family. Yes, the same Bulmers family that are linked to Bulmers cider, and they're also linked into other key areas of the fraud via the Companies House records. But this Castell Henley is the UK's only archaeological site of its kind, according to the information, which is an iron-based foundation with round houses on top. And this links to a specific church and a saint. And this church is on the pilgrimage to St David's Cathedral on the south-west corner of Wales, Pembrokeshire, which is where my nan was from, and how it links into ancient burial chambers going back to 3400 BC, which links immediately via Companies House records. They've actually set a Companies House company up linked directly to that burial chamber, and it links straight to the Freemasons, to the Flemings, and to other key areas of this, including into Julian Assange and the Doomsday Cult, which connects to all three of my families. I mean, this is only just a small bit of the evidence that I'm telling you about, which proves that I am at the centre of whatever is going on in the world at the moment. And this is an international government project, everybody, all right? I'm talking the Russian government, the Americans, the English, and the Chinese, and, you know, all of these big developed nations are tied to a project involving me. They've even got a company called the East Cliff Project. Well, the East Cliff Project relates to the East Cliff area of Bournemouth, where Exbourne Manor is based, where they introduced me to, which links directly to Jimmy Savile. And what was the operation called against Jimmy Savile? It was called Operation Yewtree. And within the church grounds of this church in Wales is a bleeding yew tree. Okay, this is the same church that is on the pilgrimage route from to St David's Cathedral, and there's evidence that suggests that St David travelled to Jerusalem in relation to the Ark of the Covenant and brought back a stone. It just says a stone. I can assume it may be the stone tablet of the Ark of the Covenant, which is the Ten Commandments. I don't know, but we have to consider that with the evidence that I've got, and took it to St David's Cathedral. St David's Cathedral, via the Companies House records, links practically immediately to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton ties to Virgin organisations via the Companies House records, and obviously links into the Pizzagate scandal. My wife's employer, okay, former employer, links immediately into the Virgin Foundation as well, okay, which links to criminal United Nations companies that have been set up with the same companies as Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, where my investigation began. The big question is, why am I, well, I'm getting the idea, but what am I supposed to do with it? Why am I at the centre of all of this, and what am I supposed to do with that information? You know, this is the big thing I'm trying to work out. Now, at the moment, all I can see that I can do is give the evidence to you, to empower you, and when I say you, I mean the innocents within humanity, to follow the strategy based on that evidence. So yes, thank you very much, Air Force Dave. If anyone wants to get the document, hopefully it hasn't been compromised through Telegram, but it's on my Telegram channel page, Gary for Freedom. If you go there and scroll up, you will see a date of 05/06/2026, main evidential research document. Go in and you will be able to get that document and download it. So it's mind-blowing, everybody. Some of you may have seen that the evidence goes right back to Rome and the Pantheon and the all-seeing eye, which links to the Oculus Omni, or the Oculus, sorry, which is the Oculus Omni ties into Lucifer and the evidence, or the information, shall I say, because I wouldn't say that's... It ties into the evidence of the Freemasons, and the G within their symbol links into Oculus Omni and Lucifer. And this, then, the Oculus is an eye and ties into the evidence of the all-seeing eye, which is on the $1 bill on the top of the pyramid, where there are 13 steps. There's 13 stars within the... I can't remember what it is on there. I keep saying there's 13 stars in the American flag. There's not. That's a mistake. What I was trying to remember is there's 13 stars on whatever there is on the back of the $1 bill as well. So you've got 13 steps within the pyramid on there, and you've got 13 stars on the $1 bill. 13 becomes relevant to me, and the ring, and loads of other evidence in relation to this. Anyway, this goes back to the Oculus, which was the opening of the Pantheon, one of the oldest buildings in Rome, and that has a sundial, which on the 21st of April each year, the sun shines through the Oculus, which is a circular opening in the roof of the Pantheon building, and it shines on the door. The 21st of April is the date of the foundation of Rome in 643 BC, I think it was, or 653 BC, I think it might be 653, when Rome was originally founded. And that 53 year, so 653, actually becomes relevant if you come right forward to 1953, when the Queen was coronated. Queen Elizabeth II was coronated in 1953. And when is her birthday? On the 21st of April, 1926, was it? Or 29? I can't remember. Right, so that 21st of April links in with the Oculus of the Pantheon in Rome with this sundial, 21st of April, when the sun shines at that particular point. It's all connected, everybody. And of course, this time of the Pantheon building is around the time of Christ's life on earth, and how that ties into his persecution, which I believe was the persecution and the prevention of the moral conscience being implemented within the system on earth moving forward from the Roman times. All right, probably prior to the Roman times as well, but it is looking like, from all of the evidence, it's very clear to me now that Christ was sent to try and prevent humanity from going down that path of utter destruction and corruption by removing moral conscience from humanity in the system that was in place through the secret societies. When right the way, what they should have done right from the outset is think, okay, transparency. How can we get a system around the world that is transparent for fairness, for integrity, for equality, for everyone around the world, no matter what their skin colour, faith, background, culture, etc. Well, they haven't done that. They've decided to go the route of secret society to protect a small number of people, and at the same time facilitate the exploitation of most of humanity. That goes directly against the Creator, and therefore it is satanic by default, by itself, because it goes against moral conscience, which is the second greatest gift, I believe, ever given to humanity after life by the Creator. And anyone that sells their moral conscience or does not follow their moral conscience is selling and giving up on the Creator, and potentially, ultimately, face eternal judgment in what may be coming in all of this. If you're actively choosing to go against what you know to be right, all right, then potentially you face ultimate consequences in this. Anyway, so those of you who know, I was arrested on the 19th of September 2025, completely staged stop of my motorhome, and I actually triggered my arrest deliberately by refusing my date of birth in the hope that I could implement my evidence through the criminal system. I went to the nth degree to do that. I even refused bail. Ended up staying in the prison, the police cells actually, for 3 days, trying to think what I would do, at which point I decided over those 3 days to repeatedly admit that I had disabled a cell tower, and asked to be interviewed for me disabling that cell tower. All right, now they knew why I was doing that, because that would have given me the opportunity to go into that interview, relate the evidence of the cell towers to everything else, including the blood of the children, and bring the entire world's system to an end. So they refused to interview me. They then bailed me to a date, all right, trying to set up a location where I could be taken out. So I had to then go into a tent to protect myself, knowing what they were trying to do. Right, so this is what I had to do at every single step of the way. They also tried to get me to actually to be poisoned whilst I was in prison, and there's loads of other stuff I could tell you about that. Anyway, my dog Rosie was taken on the 19th of September after I was arrested. I've never seen my dog since. I doubt very much that Rosie is still alive. I then, on the day I left the prison, which was the 1st of October 2025, I phoned the kennels and asked what happened to my dog. So obviously I was going to come and collect Rosie, and I was told that she was taken the day earlier. Now, nobody had told me about this. Nobody informed me that Rosie had been taken. Anyway, I haven't seen her since. Anyway, on the 29th of July this year, I attended that kennels, which is called the Inverlochy kennels, which is on the Black Isle in Inverness, and spoke to a lady claiming to be called Iona Nicol. Interesting name, Iona. Iona links to the end of the world prophecy of St. Columba and the island off the coast of Scotland, which links to the Flemings, which actually links to me. Anyway, went there, and I'm going to be publicising this, and spoke to her. She admits that she was the person that dealt with Rosie on this particular day. Okay, which I haven't seen since. Anyway, when you look at the company, the Inverlochy Animal Aid on the Black Isle, on the Isle of Wight, it's unbelievable where it leads, everybody. It's just, okay, so initially one of the trustees for the charity connects to an optician's, which leads to the eye, doesn't it? Of course, opticians. One of the other trustees links to other big areas of the fraud. However, when you do a separate search for Inverlochy, which is a very small location near Inverness, near the Black Isle, it comes up with Inverlochy Holdings. And that company had been appointed to Oculus. Okay, now I've just been telling you about Oculus Omni linking with the Freemasons and the all-seeing eye. Well, there you have an Oculus company. But not only does it, it's just mind-blowing, everybody, where it leads. Because from that company, it links into everything, but it also makes a critical connection to a family company name called I've forgotten what it is now. Alvera? No, I can't remember. Anyway, it makes links to research that I'd already done. Yes, thank you very much. Oculus VR is the technology through the virtual reality they've also created. Yes, so that'll all be tying into this. I haven't specifically researched that company, Oculus VR, but at some point I will. But it is critical. The Oculus link is massively linked into Lucifer, to the Freemasons, to the Pantheon, back into Rome, and everything I'm telling you about. Anyway, it makes this link to a princess, or a reference to the princess, I believe, that travelled with Marcel Lefebvre in 1977 from the Vatican to Geneva in Switzerland. Right, this is the year that I was born. Princess Elvina, I think it is, was her name. I might be saying that slightly wrong. I haven't got it in front of me. Was a very high-level member of the black nobility family linked to the Vatican. She went with Marcel Lefebvre and a group to Geneva in Switzerland to do with the modernisation of the Catholic Church. Okay, this was in 1977, the year that I was born. Marcel Lefebvre then set up, or had previously set up, in 1970, so 7 years before I was born, the St. Puy X, which actually represents 10, but I suspect it also relates to the bloodline of Christ and me. And he set that up in 1970, which was the year before Charles became the Prince of Wales, and the year after Charles became the Prince of Wales in 1969, and the year before the World Economic Forum began, which also links this. All of this connected to me, everybody. All right, all of this. There's obviously an international government project or operation with me at the centre. It's very, very obvious now. Anyway, this they all bear with me. This person then, and it was a very vocal dog. Hello there. Oh yeah. This very vocal dog you've got there. Is that because of me? Are they barking because of me? Oh. Anyway, this I'll just wait for the dog to go. Can you hear it? No, I can't even see it. I don't even know what type of dog it is. It's a little Jack Russell type dog. Looks like. Yorkshire Terrier. Anyway, sorry about that. So, where was I? So this princess, so St. Prix X was formed in 1970, and it had an initial time period of 6 years, which would take you obviously to 1976, the year before I was born. That year is when Apple, the company, was originally founded, and it had an original symbol of Sir Isaac Newton sat under an apple tree, linking into the tree of life, I believe, and the apple representing Adam and Eve. And then the next year, 1977, it changed its logo twice. Once it had an apple without a bite out of it, and then it had an apple with a bite out of it, according to the information I've got, which, of course, I was born in the second half of 1977, and it seems as though the apple was taken out of the logo at that point. Anyway, there's loads of other research around the Apple side of things. I could be another half an hour, so I'll just carry on with this. Anyway, Marcel Lefebvre, so they set this organisation up. It then was extended indefinitely from 2017. So this is the year after the Pizzagate scandal had been exposed and Donald Trump was positioned. It's also the year after the ritual appears to have taken place at the Shiva statue at CERN, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, representing creation and destruction in August 2016. This was, according to the information. That's the same month that the Olympic Games took place in Rio de Janeiro, which is overseen by Christ the Redeemer statue, and I link to the Olympic Games. Okay, so via my school, the 13th century Knights Templar location that I've told you about, there it links into the Waterman Offshore Company, into a load of Olympic Games companies and World Cup football companies, and David Beckham Limited and loads of other sort of football sports related companies. Anyway, 2016 is also when they positioned a new head, a black pope within the Society of Jesus, okay, which links into the Jesuits. This was all in 2016, which is 10 years to where we are, obviously in advance of where we are now. And August, that month that I've just told you about, is obviously the month that's coming, okay, which links into Project Anchor. Anyway, so you have this princess goes with Marcel Lefebvre and a group, and apparently Marcel Lefebvre is courting, or therefore having a physical sexual relationship, I would think, with people within this group. And that's the year that I was born. Well, anyway, connections are made via this Inverlochy company to the Lefebvre links. Not only that, there are connections to Lefebvre, to Waterman's, okay, to the name Waterman, and it makes a link almost immediately from the research of the Lefebvre Waterman link to the burial chambers in Wales, which had already been linked to me. The ancient burial chambers going back to 3,500 BC it is actually. So anyway, this is huge. Now, I'd already found Waterman pens. Obviously, you've all heard of Waterman pens, or many of you would have done. This all now becomes very important to the evidence, right? And a suggestion that blood may have been being used historically within ink, within pens, on the documents in relation to the criminal system they have in place, and this going back a long time. There's actually, if you go and research, has blood been used in ink? It was used in ink, and we have to consider, because of the evidence of the blood in all of this, we have to consider that maybe, of course I can't prove this, that there is an element of the children's blood literally being put onto the documents in relation to this centralised criminal system as well, and how this links into the shoes. You know, you've heard of the Red Shoe Society and the skin being used in luxury goods as well, all tying in with the Church of Satan, you see, which it does. I've got the evidence proving that all of this I'm telling you about links in with the Church of Satan and Satanism, which is the opposite of the Creator. It's the opposite of moral conscience. It is against the Creator by definition of the removal of the moral conscience, okay? Anyway, Waterman, or do I go into that subject? Let me come to some comments, first of all. So, Oculus VR, yes, thank you very much. I do need to research that. Very possibly, it will be relating to this. Gary's Telegram channel, thank you, Hans Pi XY. Not Han Solo, is that standing for? Hans? Only because what I was about to say links to Han Solo. And links to Star Wars and Harrison Ford. And the Vatican, yeah, all links into the Vatican. Inverlochy, Fort William. Yeah, Fort William's not that far away. But you've got, is it Inverlochy? Yeah, you've got Inverlochy is a little place on Black Isle. If you research Inverlochy Animal Aid, you'll see it just on the Black Isle near Inverness. That was where I went to a few days ago. John's put, you tell him how the elementary kids used to call you throat goat back in his... Pardon? You tell him how the elementary kids used to call you throat goat back... Don't know if you're talking to somebody else there. Hi Anna, I hope you're doing okay. Thanks very much for coming on. Oculus VR, yes. Oculus is massively important in relation to this, all right? And how it ties in with the Pantheon and the All-Seeing Eye. There's actually companies called All-Seeing Eye Everybody that link to me. I mean, it's really quite unbelievable what I'm finding. You know, I've got all of this to prove it. Crazy that we were talking about Rosie, your dog, and a dog comes along. Yes, yeah, it's Takito. Well, where I am, you know, it's quite prominent for people walking dogs. Gary, maybe you should go to France. How on earth do you keep sane? I'm being guided, everyone. I'm being guided. I'm functioning. I shouldn't even be functioning with what I've gone through and what I'm uncovering. Someone's put there was no mention of apple in the Bible. There's mention of an apple. So what they've done is they've referenced it back to the creation of the companies. Okay, but nice try. That dog is in on it. Yeah, so John is obviously compromised. John Doe. Can I actually block? I can block, but they generally when they're part of this. Because all social media has been set up, everybody is part of the collaborative deception. TikTok's in on it. TikTok is, I suspect, a countdown to whatever their conclusion is going to be, or whatever the conclusion is in this. I noticed how things were starting to change in 1976. My first son was born. No worries, get on with it. Someone's put. Thanks, Nash. Matrix using the dog as a distraction. Or any kind of fruit, someone said. Oh yeah, someone's put. I knew football was linked somehow. Football's massively linked into this. You've got to remember, this has been, many of you will know from what I've been saying, it's completely centralised for a very long time. They've been working towards complete centralisation, where you can have literally a handful of people literally running the entire world system. That's practically where we're at the moment. but the evidence is in the nick of time to prevent complete and total enslavement of all of humanity and the end of all of creation. There's no coincidence in the timing of this, everybody. And then the evidence suggesting who I am in this. So football companies are the perfect organisation to launder the money through, because they can hide it through the very expensive wages of the footballers. Exploring. How can everything be linked to just you? We basically are all linked. So there's as I said, there's a completely centralised criminal system with the governments, and for whatever reason, I'm right at the centre of it all. Whichever angle you come in now, there's references to a key company linking to my former school. All right. This is why the Russian government are actually linked to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited via Jimmy Savile's building, and it's linked to the royal family. It's not a coincidence, everybody. Right. This is what the evidence proves. It's not speculation. It's not conspiracy. You've got the Russian government and the international governments involved in a project and an operation with me at the centre, for whatever reason. And I think we're getting to potentially why, but it's what I'm supposed to do is the big question. Texaco company leads to Getty companies. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, Getty as in it's interesting because the Getty in America, the supposed child trafficking side of things, the person running that group refused to allow me to actually put any evidence on them. I had conversations with them. Absolutely refused for me to share any of the evidence, even though it was supporting what they were saying about the child trafficking situation. Hi Brian, I hope you're doing okay. Just going through the comments. Hi Anna, thanks very much for your comment. I'm doing okay. Someone's put no apple in the Bible, Gary. So there's no reference at all of Adam taking a bite of the apple. Is that what you're saying? Or of any fruit? Okay, it's interesting. Chatham House rules. Yeah, Chatham's where I was born. Chatham's very relevant in all of this. It was actually called Chatham House after William Pitt, who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the 1700 time. I can't remember which years exactly. Well, he was the Earl of Chatham, where I was born. Chatham is very, very important in this. Chatham is right near Sittingbourne. Sittingbourne is where the world's biggest factory was in the 1800s, linking to vampirism and Varney the vampire. Everyone should be making citizens' arrests of solicitors, financial advisors and accountants. Peaceful, legal, apply the pressure to the system in the right way, publicly expose those citizens' arrests. You all have a power to arrest them. This is what you should be doing without question now. This is what everybody should be doing. And it only takes a few to do it. Publicise those arrests, call the police, give the police the opportunity to come along and take them away. If they don't, then you expose the police through those videos. And you can show their faces and link them to aiding and abetting the blood of the tortured children, the skinning and the crimes against the children, the most innocent of all. Starry Hell's put it's a twin system. The thing is, we all know the world is corrupted and we can't do... Yes, you can. Nash, I suspect you're compromised. Anyone that says nothing can be done about this, I mean, you're obviously going to be compromised. You should be out there starting to do citizens' arrests. Every one of you now. Otherwise, I just have to consider, I'm sorry, that people are just compromised in this. It's very simple to go and read information to a solicitor. Main reason you believe you are at the centre, and how did you clock the things you believe? Thanks very much for your question, Hoddy. There's so many things. Okay, so from my school, there's links to the 13th century Knights Templar location immediately, which links to Temple Manor, which links back to the Flemings and Ian Fleming. And the Flemings are behind the centralised criminal system, are massively implicated in it. They go back in the research of history, going back to at least the 13th century. and a battle in 1333 where information was being hidden about the blood of the children linking into vampirism, coming back to Varney the Vampire in the 1800s. Right, I'd need to be here for half an hour to explain every little thing to you. All three of my families are linked to David Icke. All right, David Icke is somebody claiming to be acting on behalf of the God's Head, saying that the world will be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. He's linked to the intelligence agencies and to the Russian government and to the royal family and to me, as well as all three of my families. Okay, he came out in 1991 and said that the world will be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. They're also linked to Julian Assange, all three of my families, which links to the Doomsday Cult, which links to the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, which was set up originally, or founded originally in 1948, the year after the Doomsday Clock began in 1947. Deborah Fleming, who initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor and sat in meetings whilst I was trying to work out what was happening with my investigation, she retired as an NHS Chief Executive on the 31st of March 2022. As I was starting to make the inquiries at Exbourne Manor, she was then the one that initiated my removal as a director from that company for refusing continuously to file forged bank documents. Those bank documents appeared to be being produced by somebody on the Treasury Department of Lloyds Bank. Lloyds Bank is on page 40 of the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that links to me, and it links to vampirism. There was a marriage between a Fleming and a Lloyd in the 1920s. It was an Edward Lloyd. Edward Lloyd is the same name as the person that created Sweeney Todd and Varney the Vampire in the 1800s, which links to vampirism. There's a video been going around on TikTok about a lot of celebrities wearing pearls around their necks and speculation that it relates to a sexual act. Okay, I suspect it relates to the string of pearls. String of pearls is what the Sweeney Todd books relate to, or the Sweeney Todd character, and they've set up a Sweeney Todd organisation linking to vampirism and the centralised criminal network around the world. All right, so all these entertainers such as Beyonce and others, I think it's Beyonce, what was it, others, maybe a coincidence, but if there is specifically lots of them wearing the pearls around their neck, I suspect it links back to the blood of the children and vampirism, everybody. You've got Youngblood, for example, you know, the young singer, Youngblood. Okay, I've already done the research around him, links into the international government fraud. He apparently is wearing the pearls around his neck quite often, according to a video I've seen. Can't confirm that's true. I'm only going by that video. But what I can tell you, if String of Pearls is relevant to Sweeney Todd, and Sweeney Todd is related to the vampirism and the centralised criminal network that links to the royal family, the De Reyes, the Vatican, the blood of the children, etc., as I've said earlier. Thanks very much for that. So no apple at all. What is... Oh, okay. So they don't mention anything being eaten by Adam in the Bible. That's interesting. What do you mean what you're supposed to do? You think you're the top man? I'm just telling you what the evidence tells you. I'm not saying I'm a top man at all. I'm just saying, for whatever reason, I'm right at the centre of all of this. I'm guessing you're compromised, John, the way you're wording things. I think it's mentioned as fruit, assumed to be an apple. Ah, okay, thanks very much. Interesting. So there's no actual mention of the apple itself. Paul is relevant. We beat the Vikings. Interesting. Thanks, Nash. Keep moving away from corrupt people. Somebody's put there's a partial lunar eclipse on the 12th. Yep, there's also a meteor shower, and that meteor shower is at its peak on the day after, on the 13th. Yeah, total solar eclipse. It's a total solar eclipse, I believe, not a partial one, in key parts of the northern hemisphere. And it's actually the first time in a very long time that it has been a total solar eclipse in some of those areas. You're talking going back to 1905 in sometimes. Isn't it mentioned, the forbidden fruit? I'm sure an apple is mentioned though, but may be wrong. Abel is from Adam, Cain is from the serpent, someone's put. What can you do? You're a pensioner. Well, everybody should be sharing the evidence. Go and get in my document. Everybody should be arranging meetings, talking about this evidence. Everybody could be producing slips, posting leaflets, posting little slips through people's letterboxes, leaving them in public places, sending the evidence to your councillors, to your MPs, to the police, arranging meetings, like I've said. Arrange for me to come and speak about it remotely on a screen. Nobody is doing that, which suggests, unfortunately, it's all seeming that you might all be compromised by the system, and therefore possibly everything is at stake for all of you. It can be done. Anyone saying otherwise is definitely in on it. Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. Absolutely can be changed 100%. I believe there is more innocent people to the extent of, you know, that want to stop this than those that want it to continue. So all the time there is more people to do that. It is possible to change it. No, it's multiple links, as I've explained. Lord. Lord, so you're a lord, are you? You call yourself Lord, and you're obviously compromised. There's a lot of people on here. So notice, this is how controlled it is. So John is compromised, and the Lord, whatever his name is compromised. Now, you need to do more research on the true Hebrew names, which was removed. Thanks, Starry Held. Yeah, just ignore these people that are compromised, Vanessa. I wouldn't even respond to them. Gary, the Bible calls it a forbidden fruit. Okay, interesting. But some people say that it was magic mushrooms. Interesting. Oh, someone's put it was almost certainly a fig. Someone is saying. Interestingly. It's like when they wear the red string bracelet. I'm not aware of that. Thanks, Michelle. The Father Christmas or Santa Claus and Satan all linked into this, and Krampus of Germany. The popes have a winter, I can't remember the name for it, but the item of clothing that they wear over their shoulders at the winter time is the same as Father Christmas's one, and that all ties into this as well. And Krampus and Santa, which is an anagram of Satan. Are you on about Youngblood, a rapper on TikTok? No. He's not a rapper. He does sort of more rock music. But that Youngblood may well be connected. No, it's a Young, B-L-U-D is the spelling, I believe, of the one I'm talking about. Someone has put Black Sun coming soon. Interesting. Jesus is king of the mushrooms, and someone has put the Black Sun coming soon. Yeah, well, that could relate to the eclipse. It could relate to planet Nibiru or X, which I'm related to or connected to in the Company's House records, which actually goes straight to my former school again. And it could tie in with black holes. Black Sun Limited is linked immediately to Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began. Pals put, how do we trust you? Well, I'm trying to expose everything. Who am I working for? What's my motive? That's what you've got to ask if you don't want to trust me. And everything I'm saying is based on the evidence. So all I've got to do is redirect you to the evidence. So that's a silly question, Powell, because everything I'm saying is based on the evidence anyway. So I just redirect you and say, go and look at that evidence and make your own choice, make your own decision based on the evidence I'm presenting to you and a strategy to prevent it. Why would I be trying to prevent it if I'm part of it? Nice try, though. 1999, someone's put. Not too sure why. That's the year of the re-establishment of the Church of Satan, after the original founder, Anton LaVey, died within 2 months of Princess Diana in 1997. All very, very relevant. Re-establishment of the Church of Satan, 1999, which is when Vladimir Putin became the Prime Minister, I believe, of Russia. Insider knowledge revealing locations which then can be recorded covert the trafficking of children. Someone's put Sirius A. Sirius A is also relevant to me. Interesting. So you put your Sirius A. Insider knowledge revealing locations which then can be recorded covert and trafficking of children. Someone's put Adam and Eve were light beings before they were disobedient. Thank you very much. They're scared, someone's put. So what's going to happen on the 13th Well, the date of the 12th is more relevant according to all of the research. If there is a loss of gravity, it could be a real rapture event to save people within humanity from a tribulation event. I suspect it's symbolic, as I've said earlier, a timely symbolism in relation to my evidence. But I'm not going to rule out something happening on the 12th of August. Something has to happen one way or another very, very soon. Someone's put Planet X is fake. Yeah, it could well be, but they've created Nibiru companies linking to me. Also, there's Planet X and Global X companies linking to me. It could be symbolic of the bloodline of the Christ and the return and how that relates to me, because the overwhelming evidence suggests I'm linked to the bloodline of Christ in all of this, and the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, which suggests there's bloodline of Lucifer as well. So, yeah, so much evidence of that. Planet X was mentioned in the 2012 phenomenon, which speculated that the end of the world may occur on the 21st of December 2012, either with a black hole appearing on Earth or potentially Earth being struck by planet Nibiru or Planet X. In 2022, when I was starting to uncover and escalate my inquiries within X-Born Manor Freehold Limited, Elon Musk suddenly starts changing Twitter to X. So these X connections start actually being created. I suspect that's because of me. The timing, there's too much. Elon Musk links directly into me and to my families as well. Forgot to mention that earlier. Someone's put, yes, what is going to happen? I don't know, but if the gravity does start being lost, I would advise that you just let yourself go and hope that it is a creator salvation of you from what may come on Earth. That's what my advice is, based on if there is a loss of gravity. If there isn't, I would advise that you get yourself on high ground. Make sure you're on high ground at around 3:33 p.m. on the 12th of August, just in case something happens, because there could be an immediate potential tribulation event on Earth afterwards, which could involve massive floods around the Earth. I'm not saying that is going to occur. However, nothing wrong with preparing just in case. There is no reason to be scared, no reason to be fearful. As I've suggested, I suspect it is a symbolic, timely event tying into my evidence and who I might be to trigger a catalyst of the truth. Telegram Bray's got up. Slipping notes through my neighbour's letterbox. They would lock me up here. Why would they? Why would they, for putting a YouTube channel and an email address and saying, please watch? Okay, you're not going to be locked up. I suggest, Nash, there's a few comments you're putting that's suggesting you could be compromised in this. Okay, so I'm going to block you because there's too many things. Sorry to say. This is a deterrent to try and stop other people doing the same. Go look up the name of twins with two separate dads. It doesn't happen. It does happen. Okay, thanks, Dario. Hiring now, remote jobs where you work from home and get paid. Goodbye. It's almost a waste of time doing this on social media because it's just so compromised. And nobody's following the strategy. Am I friends with David Icke? What do you think? Evidence is public about Epstein and nothing's done. Exactly. Massive test to humanity without my evidence. You should all be doing arrests anyway without my evidence. Of course, I'm not friends with David Icke. Please stop asking that. You know him. We'll get him to do the right thing and expose the fraud. He's not. Black Sun. Someone's put, laughing. Red string bracelets relate to the Kabbalah. Ah, thank you very much. I haven't heard of that. Do I have a rare blood type? I have no idea. Someone's put, Saturn is Satan. If you're saying you're linked to the Christ, that's the false Messiah. Not necessarily. If I'm not saying I definitely am Christ, I'm saying I'm bloodline of Christ, but it could be that I'm something to do with the return. Right? That's not saying I am Christ. I do not fit the definition of the Antichrist in all of this. I've checked that multiple times because I've had to think that. What are you preventing? What is going to happen? A system, at the very least, a system of enslavery into the blood of the children. At the very least, forever. It will be hell on earth. So trying to stop hell on earth, or the end of all of creation, one of those two things are almost inevitable if you do not focus on the evidence. The evidence, go to Gary's Telegram channel. Thank you very much, Gary for Freedom. I hope it's not been compromised through there, but it is. The document should be on my main page. Someone's put there is no rapture. Someone's put check the moon launch videos, something to do with August on there. Thank you very much, Truth Quadson. So we had hype about year 2000. Yep, you know, a lot of this is potentially symbolic, but the timing of everything is critical in relation to the research. I mean, if you only go and look at the Bereshit prophecy video, I would advise that you go and do that. It talks about the timeline of events potentially in all of this, and we can see, or I can see, but it's possible they're staging all of that information for me to see it, but let's assume not, that we can see the corruption is at a level that we have never seen, certainly not in my lifetime. And of course, at the moment, what have you got? Information, whether true or not, I suspect a lot of it isn't true. Fires all over the world. Earthquakes over the last few months have been quite significant. You know, it is as if they are symbolizing a timeline event, potentially the end of the tribulation event, in which case all the timing changes. The 12th of August becomes almost irrelevant, and the evidence that I've got is what I was going to be showing suggests that could be the case, that they're timing the end of the tribulation event with my exposure and who I am in this, because what that means is that you come to the second coming point and the end of that tribulation, and then the 1,000 years. I mean, even that may change, but according to certain religious beliefs, the Christian element of things, there's 1,000 years of reign by Christ after that tribulation event. You've also got the this is the other thing to take into account, the the little season of Satan. Again, may or may not be true, but it's the evidence is tying into this as well, and which talks about after the 1,000 years of reign by Christ of peace, then there is a return of Satan for a short period of time before the end of the old earth completely through fire and brimstone, it says. I suspect the fire and brimstone is actually potentially going to be avoided as well, and I suspect that is why one of the first visions that I had in my research links into the fire and brimstone via the research. Anyway, Satan's little season is supposedly at the end of the 1,000-year reign, and this links into the battle of Gog and Magog. Well, that also, they've created companies that also goes into that and links into the Rothschilds, which means it links to me again. All right, everywhere you come in, because the Rothschilds linked are, I have to say the word linked because it's not all connected. All right, this is an immediate connection, Rothschilds to my former school and the Waterman Offshore companies, okay, via home care companies which link to it as well. So even the Rothschilds are linked to me, and you'll know, many of you will know, they are one of the biggest families on the earth in relation to the monetary system. Just have a look at hiring now. Just have a look at the comments. Someone's put Adam and Eve were like, oh yeah, I've mentioned that. Thanks very much. Yeah, someone's put they're scared. Yeah, I absolutely believe they probably are scared, all right, with all of this, because this is new for them, all right? If they've had a system of blood consumption, which, you know, Varney the Vampire, it looks as though they were telling us how they're feeling and all of this. It looks as though they don't want to carry on living with how they're living. So that means that through my evidence, this also becomes the salvation of them through this evidence. Everybody can be saved through this evidence. Everyone on earth, absolutely, I believe, spiritually through this. Yeah, you know, they probably are very scared because they are, you know, they probably know that I can get them out of this spiritually But they're scared because they've been used to, it seems, a corrupt system and how that links with the blood of the children for generations within their families. So, they are very scared about this. I'm in no doubt of that. They are. Oh, so someone's saying Apple is in the Bible. Okay. I think that's what you're saying. Apple of the eye, Psalm 17:18 is mentioned in the Bible. Interesting. Thank you very much, Angelica. Wasn't aware of that. Apple of the eye. You've obviously got bad apple. You've got the big apple. Lots of Apple references in all of this. I think I've gone back on older comments. Suddenly it jumped, so I'm trying to go back again. Yeah, you can get my document, Gary for Freedom, on the Telegram channel. It's possible they've corrupted it through there, but yeah, I've nipped back on the comments, unfortunately. Genesis 3 verse 2, someone's put. Look at serpent skin under a microscope. It's just like human skin. We shred our skin. Do I have a rare blood type? I have no idea. Right, I think I'm back to where I was on the comments. See if there's any other question. Someone's put, it's not that we don't believe what you're saying, but the globalists are sticking together. I'm exposing them all, mate. There's no rapture, someone's put. Claire Doherty is laughing at 3:33 p.m. rapture. Very biblically relevant number in relation to the Holy Trinity and lots of other things. Check the moon launch video, yeah, I've mentioned that. Someone's saying about the blackout. Talking about international government fraud and how it's tying with me, it seems, with an international collaborative project or operation linked to the Russian government, Americans, and me at the centre of this. Not as in me involved, I'm exposing them all. They all need to be arrested, as far as I can see. Vanessa's put, you can see a 33 in the cloud. Interesting. That's very interesting. Rupert and Nigel might get together. Things will turn around if they do. No. Again, Nash, you're not doing yourself any favours. They're all compromised by this. None of them are talking about the fraud. They all need to be arrested. All right, Rupert, Lowe, and Nigel, I've already researched them massively. They need to be arrested, everybody. And they will be. You just need to follow my strategy. Start with the citizens, the solicitors. Okay? Just looking. Someone's put, what gravity? Yeah, well, if you don't want to call it gravity, whatever holds us onto the Earth. Seriously, the world does not revolve around you. The evidence appears to suggest that I'm at the centre of everything, everybody. That's what the evidence is showing, which everybody can verify and see. Can we all invite ourselves to your bunker? I heard about severe, whether in Europe, persistent, some expands 40. The only one who will be rapture are the tares. Someone's put. Come to Kettering, you will fit right. To Kettering, you will fit right. That, I believe, is a deception. All right, because that sets up the path of destruction. All right. So, in other words, if you have a moral, think about doing something you know to be wrong, because I can just repent and be asked to be forgiven. It doesn't matter. I can do it. Pray and repent. That future sin is forgotten, according to that. I believe that is a huge element of the deception within Christianity. So there, me, Antichrist, that is uncorrupted, is the moral conscience which would have been via that deception I've just spoken to you about. And let's think about it. If you were satanic, you would set up that deception to allow you to implement moving moral conscience to corrupt the entire earth as part of it, okay? The deception of forgiving future sins before they've even occurred, setting up the ability for the human mind to think it's okay to sin and disregard the second greatest gift given by by the Creator to humanity of moral conscience. A complete and utter mockery of Christ, I believe. A mockery of the Creator. And this ties in with the blood Holy Communion within Christianity, which I also believe is a satanic infiltration of Christ to mock Christ by claiming that you drink his blood and eat his body in the bread. Why would you eat and drink the blood of an entity which you hold so high? Now look at how this links in with the crimes against the children. Because what if you cannot eat the body and the blood of Christ? What is the next thing closest to? Children. What's the next thing after that? Potentially dolphins, all right, who are closest in there's a lot, people could say other animals, of course, but there is a massive link to the culling of the dolphins into the Christ connection, into the Holy Communion of the church, which I believe is a deception and a mockery against Christ going right back then. Does that make me Antichrist for actually exposing that? See, it depends what the definition of Antichrist is. It appears that I may have the blood of Christ and Lucifer within me, which means I have the duality of and the understanding of what's probably gone wrong, and ensuring that we bring heaven on earth through that understanding of the corruption within Christianity and the deception, and how that ties in to the blood of the innocent. You can see how this all becomes so critical in this. So am I the Antichrist for exposing a potential corruption within Christ? Well, going by what they've made us believe about Christ, yes. But that's if what they told us is true. If it's a lie and moral conscience tells us it is, then I become Christ's embodiment in human form through this belief and understanding through the evidence that I've acquired. You see what I'm saying? So I become, depends which way you look at it, Christ and Antichrist, but Antichrist as in their version of Christ. Because I'm saying, look at this deception and how it makes sense to the evidence that I'm acquiring, how it explains everything, how they've skipped moral conscience, the greatest gift, but I also take everybody back to Christ, the foundation of moral conscience and love thy neighbour, if you want to put it in a real, which doesn't mean just the people living next door to you. This means treat everybody in the way you want to be treated. Now, they have gone against that by the system they have set up, right? Because we've already established they don't want to be stolen from. They don't want to be hurt. They don't want to be defrauded. They don't want to be victimized. And yet here they are with a system which exploits, victimizes most of humanity, which means they've gone against the Creator, and they have excluded moral conscience, set up a deception to forgive future sins through the false story of the crucifixion of Christ, a double crossing, I believe. So in answer to your question, yes, it could be that I'm considered Antichrist, but also Christ potentially through the bloodline and somehow tying in through that return, into that return. Now, the evidence, they tried, or I could have fallen into the trap of destroying the foundation of Christ, okay? And it's very clear that they have tried to either test me or test humanity with what they've done, or actually try to get me to facilitate the destruction of Christ's conscience. But fortunately, I've seen through everything, and I've understood that actually I've inverted it back round and brought it back to Christ, understanding the deception. Now, this ties in with the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini, which sets out the 3 World War deception, and it talks about destroying Christianity, destroying the Muslim faith, destroying atheism, and bringing the world to unveil. I can't remember the exact word, but it's something like revealing the full doctrine of Lucifer to the world. Now, Lucifer, remember, links into the Freemasons and the Oculus Omni and the G within the Freemason symbol, which ties into everything that I've been telling you about. And it could be that they were seeing and keeping me neutral to determine if I would understand and decode the deception through the entire system, taking everybody back to Christ, even though everything was steering me away from it. And let's face it, you know, it's very clear from the information that they have corrupted the Catholic Church and every religious establishment, in fact, but specifically the Vatican and the Church, which would very easily turn most good people away from the Church. Whereas actually I've understand the inversion and gone back to the foundation of Christ through moral conscience, and in trying to make that the absolute key that everyone needs to be understanding is the persecution of the Christ, and therefore the persecution of moral conscience and the removal of that from the system. So, and this all then ties in to me, to the Ring, to the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, tying in with the Vatican, in with the intelligence agencies via my Ring, to the person that introduced me to my wife, Exborn Manor. This was all staged deliberately, I suspect, because they knew who I was. Yep, somebody's put gravity doesn't exist. That may well be the case, but whatever you want to call that's holding us onto the ground. Someone's put, yes, evidence on Espine and Jimmy Savile was knighted. Mission impossible unless all stand up to evil. Yeah, it's absolutely not impossible. Everyone literally just needs to follow my strategy. Everyone just needs to follow my strategy. Use the evidence to empower them, but nobody isn't. That means everybody is choosing not to. That means you choose to be on the wrong side. All right? Because remember, how do we know I'm on the right side? Because I am calling for complete transparency in the world system to safeguard creation, children, and bring about protection of humanity from their leaders on Earth. No other time has this ever happened. You've always had a select small number of people that have the ability to exploit the masses. I'm calling for an inversion of that, not an inversion, but to protect the masses from any corrupt leadership, everybody. There is no motive for what I'm doing unless I'm acting on behalf of the Creator to safeguard everybody in this, to bring complete and utter fairness, integrity, equality, no victimization to everyone on Earth, no matter what their skin color, no matter what they choose to believe, as long as they have that moral conscience element, as in they agree that they don't want to be hurt, they don't want to be victimized, and therefore they're not going to do it to anybody else. It grounds everybody to that understanding. And as long as we have a system that maintains the foundation of the moral conscience, i.e. not creating a irrationality or a lack of clarity which would facilitate the removal of moral conscience, which is what the current system does, then you bring everybody back to ground level truth, ground level reset of moral conscience, and then they can choose to believe what they want. I believe everybody will understand the concept of the Creator and the link into Christ through that by the new system being implemented. Why did Trump tell the Christians they don't need to vote again? Yes. Well, he's saying that there won't even be a president again, isn't he? He'll be the last president. Well, that's what the information is suggesting. That's the someone's put. That's the grids they set earthquakes up to wipe out people from underwater. What's this about? User 043712292333. Oh, you got 3 3s at the end. That's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting. We're talking about 333, the time of the project. Vanessa's just in 333 in the clouds, and then we've got a username of 333 at the end here. What's this all about, user 333 at the end? International government fraud and how it ties in with prophecy. Why has my screen gone completely? And how it ties into falsified prophecy and the corruption within the system. Why have all the multimillionaires built underground bunkers, you put? Bunkers, do you mean? Probably because they're trying to save themselves from information they may have been deceived about of a falsified apocalyptic event. I believe all those tunnel systems will flood if they try and save themselves through their secret society system in relation to a false apocalyptic event. Or even a real creator apocalyptic event, if that was to happen. I suspect it may have to at some point if this doesn't change. If it does, I suspect that those that stand in truth and on the right side of this, which is not going to be many people, according to everything I'm seeing, they will be safe. And anyone that tries to save themselves through their silence of the criminal system will be facing eternal judgment, very likely through those tunnel systems being flooded. That's why I actually checked, found this on my document yesterday. Exborn Manor, I thought it was inverted, but it's not. It's the actual Exborn Manor put into Latin, and I've got a screenshot confirming it, means I stay out of the water. The other interesting thing I found is that manna, translated in Latin, is the sun. The sun. Exborn Manor, born X, bloodline Christ, reversed, born X, bloodline Christ, moved from Christchurch Road, where Exborn Manor is based, in 2010, the age of 33, same age Christ was during his persecution and resurrection, to Christchurch. In other words, X is the abbreviation of Christ, same year, and then went to Christchurch in New Zealand. Before I knew any of this, and CERN Limited was incorporated on Companies House a month and a day after my birthday on the 29th of November 2010, the age that I was 33, and then the Christchurch earthquake apparently happened within 3 months of that company being created. Christchurch Earthquake Appeal connects to the Foundation of Science and Technology, which links back into the research of Apple from 1977, which the Foundation of Science and Technology was incorporated, and that links to Ghislaine Maxwell and a company linked into the Normandy D-Day landings immediately, and D-Day, I suspect, represents Doomsday. And what do I link to? By all three of my families, via Julian Assange, the Doomsday Cult, and the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom. And that was founded in 1948, the year after Doomsday Clock began in 1947, and that was Einstein was involved in that, and Einstein was also involved in implementing, through his device, the one world government, leading into the World Economic Forum, which was founded in 1971, and which within 3 days of me sending my evidence to the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab announced that he was stepping back as the chair of the World Economic Forum, and he then resigned on the exact day that the Pope died in early 2025, both 88 years old. And there were some other key things happened around that time. I was documenting some of this yesterday. So this was April 2025. You had Collider Limited dissolved within 2 days of this is all in the same period. I can't remember the exact timing. So you had the death of the Pope, supposed death. I don't believe that was even real. The resignation of the Klaus Schwab. You had the helicopter crash involving the Siemens CEO, which was critical in my evidence. And you had, what else was it around that time? Something else massive that time. Completely gone out mad. A lot of the farmers sell their land from Savile estates. What does that tell you? Yeah, absolutely. Savile's massive in this. I suspect Operation Yew Tree was never about Jimmy Savile. I suspect it was about me. Okay, this is why you've got the bleeding yew tree in the church in Wales in Pembrokeshire, which links to the connections into Christ, into the Ark of the Covenant, linking into me, into the ancient burial chambers, and Castell Henley, which is the only ancient burial site, archaeological site of its kind in the whole of the United Kingdom. Let's get rid of the person calling themselves Jesus Christ. I suspect Charles is being the son of the Rothschild. Bear with me. So are they after rare blood groups? Ooh. In relation to the blood, I would think you've got a number of people that are scared of dying. They probably don't want to face the judgment in all of this as well now, so they're going to be even more worried about it. Extending their lives through blood and organ harvesting. Now, of course, you will have people that are involved in the trade of that and aware that it's worth vast amounts of money. So the rarer the blood, the more expensive the blood will be to then extend the lives of those that need that blood type. So, yeah, you know, this we have to consider, was this a big part of why the samples were being taken in relation to the COVID situation? Was it to obtain DNA samples with your name and your details so they know what blood to target or who to target through technology to actually then harvest the blood in their organs from? We have to now consider that. That is possibly harm. It's not the drawer of someone's foot. Hi, great to have you here from Greece. Hopefully I'm back now. The rain was falling on my phone, and it caused sound. Hopefully you can hear me. Great to have you from Greece, Lara. I hope you're doing really well. Have I been to Greece? Yes, I have been to Greece. Had a wonderful time actually with my dad. I haven't been there since I was a child. Thanks, Angelica. I'm letting people hear this from my garden. Well done, Clarissa. Yeah, anyone listening from Clarissa's garden, you are living under a system of international government fraud that is deliberately facilitating the laundering of money in relation to a problem reaction solution criminal network and international conflicts, terrorism, drug trafficking, and the most horrendous crimes against children. Anyone that continues to comply to this system, certainly through paying taxes, and who does not get behind my strategy, which is the only strategy that will resolve this, then you are still part of the problem. You need to get behind the evidence, which will empower you through the truth of that evidence, which you can check and see that everything I'm doing is true through that document and the strategy based on that evidence. It's critical that you are following a strategy based on the real evidence, the real problem that the world is facing, and it is this, everybody. Right, this facilitates the deception, the lies, and a system of international collaborative deception, a problem, reaction, solution, criminal network. All the time they create the problems or the illusion of them, they will be able to continue to exploit and victimize you through those problems. Have you seen Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter, latest post? No, I haven't. Thank you very much. Glitter, is it? Or Grifter? Glitter? Interestingly, Latoya Jackson is very important in this, and her husband Leon, what was his name? Jack Leon or something similar to that. I haven't got it in front of me. He's very relevant in this. Latoya Jackson claimed, according to the information, she was told by him to say that Michael Jackson was a child molester. Well, Leon, is massively connected into the International Criminal Network and into the, I think he links very quickly to the Church of Satan. Apple Torus Field, Earth, Humans, Ali Creation. Yes, thank you very much for reminding me actually. You're right, the apple becomes important in relation to the torus field and how that ties into at least the symbology of the gravitational field of Earth, which ties to my dream of the North and South Pole collapsing, right, which would then make the Earth almost look like an apple. If you look at the gravitational fields of the Earth, they concave in at the top and the bottom of the Earth, so they lead us to believe. This all ties in with the apple and the torus field, and also how it ties in with wormholes, right? Because a wormhole is called a wormhole, as in where they're potentially trying to create a point of time travel, or let's just say time travel. It's called wormhole because a worm or a bug, instead of walking around this outside of the apple, they burrow burrow a worm hole through the apple. Now the apple, what's it called? Not apple plant, what's it called? Wormwood. Wormwood is linked into scripture as a celestial body, linking into the return of Christ, many speculate. Well, wormwood is also a plant that was used to counteract bugs and worms. Right, now they've claimed there is no connection. Of course, there could be, couldn't there? If they're trying to create wormholes, and how this ties in with tribulation event on Earth potentially being created through them trying to create a wormhole to avoid, right, let's think about this. How do they avoid eternal judgment? If they're now waking up themselves and realizing that their blood harvesting of the children was a complete and utter deception and a lie, and that they're going to be judged eternally, then of course they are very worried about dying. But of course, how do they get out of this? Well, one way they may think that they can get out of it is to turn back time before they ever even got involved in harvesting the blood of the children. But the Creator will see through that anyway, I believe. That time won't matter to the Creator. They will still face the judgment anyway, right? But this could be linking in with the tribulation event and the evidence of the black holes, tying into the collider technology, which links to Elon Musk, which links to Stephen Hawking, which actually links to me and my dream going to the control panel of the Large Hadron Collider via a company called Keller Group PLC. An offshoot of Keller Group was the company that actually created the control panel of CERN. Right, this links into my dream, again, which is not going to be a coincidence. I've had many dreams that have tied into very important areas of this research. So why was I saying all of that? Yeah, well, it links into the torus field, and that got me into talking about the apples and the wormwood. And guess what? A company called Wormwood Limited, I think it is, connects to me, everybody, via the Company's House records. Back to my former school, back to the Waterman Offshore companies, to the 13th century Knights Templar location called Temple Manor, which links to the Flemings, right, via a Company's House record. And the Flemings were the ones that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor, and you need to be asking yourselves, why would they have Ian Fleming's relatives, who linked to the intelligence agencies, to the military, to James Bond, linking into all of this? Why would they have had them in a meeting that Gary had called everybody? And I've got a video of the meeting. Gary, what did you say about bombarding the company's Facebook with evidence? No, that was somebody else was saying that. But yeah, you know, anything you can do, you know, bombard the companies absolutely with the evidence. You know, send my document to the companies involved in this. You know, you need to apply the pressure to the system so that people don't want to work for those companies anymore. Right? That will then buckle the government into doing something about it, right? Because how can they function their system without these key organisations that I'm saying you need to target in a peaceful, legal way with the evidence to support that targeting? Exposing them to TikTok, nothing is going to happen to them. It depends how many people are innocent on here and how many people follow the strategy. Paris referencing Apple in the whole issue there with Rothschilds and Sony Entertainment. Thank you very much. Yeah, Paris, supposedly the Rothschilds office was raided there this year. That will be a cover-up investigation in relation to what I'm uncovering. Around the same time, there was a court case, which I think is still going on, against supposedly a Freemason lodge being involved in corruption and murder. I believe that is a cover-up in relation to what I am exposing. The Rothschilds link directly to me. So Anna's saying about the blackout, 3 days of darkness. So who's going to arrest them, Ruby? Oh, it's you again, Ruby, the person that is corrupted from previously before. Goodbye. You're already shown your true colours, and you must be, I presume, satanic. I can only presume. Because anybody that goes against me and goes against the truth of the evidence and safeguarding the children must be corrupted by the opposite of what I'm doing. Lara, when you start making the arrests, that's when you'll start to see the arrests. Takito had to cook dinner. Now I'm back and it's off again. What shall we do in these very strange times? Make citizens' arrests of the solicitors peacefully and legally. All I hear is that that's set up. I'm not too sure what you're referring to there, Kyle. Gary, I keep freezing, do I? Okay, interesting. No good asking him. He won't read this for another 10 minutes. Claire's put. I'm trying to go through the documents, through the comments. Just going through. I lost signal again. Someone's put. This is a fair point about drinking the blood of Christ. It's a very important point, Anna. Why would they be drinking the blood and representing the body through the bread? It is a mockery, Anna. It's obvious. It's blatantly obvious. This is why you've got Christian organisations tying into the international government fraud and the blood of the children. There is absolutely no way that Christ would condone the harming of the children for the blood, for the first thing, all right, because that is again a mockery. And remember, it's a mockery to try and extend life through that blood. All right, now it mentions within Christianity bringing eternal life. It looks as though they have tried to actually bring that literally to their capabilities through the suffering of the children through the blood. There is no way that Christ would condone that, and I can tell you that 100% because of moral conscience. We've got to keep coming back to love thy neighbour. Treat everybody how you want to be treated in a rational state of mind. Divinely, that has stood the test of time against all other corruption within the religious establishments, which everybody can relate to, and which proves that the Christian deception is real, and that the blood of the children is satanic infiltration tying into the Holy Communion of the Christian faith. I believe Christ is the way to set everybody free through the moral conscience and the embodiment, the epitome of moral conscience being in Christ himself, and through us, through Christ, through our creation, and that is what will save everybody and all of creation. It's a complete mockery to try and extend the life through the blood of the innocent. Think about it, because what that's saying is we don't believe there's anything after life, so we're going to extend our lives through whatever means possible, to the point where we will fear death because we don't trust in Christ enough to know that there is something afterwards, and it becomes a part of the mockery of this. It's essential that humanity removes the fear of death. Okay, we must remove the fear of death. The only way you can do that, I believe, now is through Christ and through the moral conscience deception removed from the system and how that links into Christ. Someone's put the blood is supposed to be symbolic. I do realise that's what some faiths actually say. Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, you've got too many cases where blood is being consumed. You've got the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, you've got the mention of the Satanic Panic, the children, 300 children in the school claiming the same thing. You've got the adrenochrome document linking. It could all be a deception, the blood element of the children. But they would have had to expose themselves through the evidence to that as being something. So therefore, you've got to come to the question, if that wasn't true, why would they expose themselves to it being a thing in the first place? There's too many things. You've got the Elm Guesthouse inquiry linking in with crimes against children, not just sexual abuse, which is bad enough, but the actual blood or the unaliving of children, shall I say. But there's actual specific cases, such as the Hampstead Child Abuse Inquiry, such as the Satanic Panic of the 1980s going back into America, and other element of research that suggests the blood of the children is this. You've got the adrenochrome document, the company CYM, which goes straight to Trump Towers. When you look at Trump Towers from above, it's got an inverted pyramid, two pyramids, okay, one big one and an inverted pyramid underneath. That links to the evidence of the Louvre Museum and the bloodline of Christ, all tying into this, and the deception within Christianity. This would explain why the YMCA was founded in 1844, exactly 100 years to the day, 100 years to the day, everybody, before the D-Day landings, Doomsday, everybody. 100 years to the day, the YMCA was founded in 1844, before D-Day, Doomsday. YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association, 1844, the same year that the Companies House registration system began, which is how I established what is going on, and I am connected into Doomsday. Okay, everybody? The death of Julius Caesar was in 44 BC. 2,000 years to the... was it the day? I think it was, 2,000 years to the day, according to the information, that Operation Overlord began on the lead up to the D-Day landings. Overlord, complete and utter dominion and control. Remember, this is linked into Satanism, okay? 2,000 years to the day after Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BC. Who took over from Julius Caesar? It was Augustus Octavian. Augustus, okay, was the nephew, I believe, or great nephew of Julius Caesar. Of course, this information could all be false. This is what they have told us within the history, but the Companies House evidence supports the relevance of that. They've even set up an Augustus company. They've even got a Octavian company, and Octagon companies make critical links to the international government criminal network and to Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began in 2022. What's your point of view of atonement? Well, look, I believe salvation is available to everybody through this, spiritually, through full disclosure of the truth, through a full repentance for what they've been part of, whatever that part may be, and a full commitment to change the system to bring heaven on earth. I believe atonement is possible through that, but without those three things, I suspect it's not possible. And I suspect that without those three things, those within the centralised criminal system will possibly face eternal damnation. Eternal damnation. What was I going to say? There was something I was going to say about that. And that's not what Jesus intended someone's put there. I'm not too sure what you're referring to there. Thanks, just what I need to hear right now. I'm not too sure what you're referring to there. But what is your take on cryptids, please? I don't know about that, I'm afraid, enough to mention it, Brannon, sorry. An insider can destroy them from inside out. Look, this evidence alone and my exposure alone has the ability to change the entire world, even if people do not follow my strategy, because this is about changing the hearts of every human on earth and changing their minds. It's possible if I can change the perception of those instrumental in the criminal system, then I alone, through this exposure, may change the outcome. Now, they've made me believe I have the ability to change the outcome in all of this. But, of course, we cannot rely on that. And this is why I need everybody to follow my strategy, empowered by the evidence, supported by me, to tip it into the reality of the expedition or expedited transition, shall we say, to heaven on earth, which we are now literally teetering, I believe, on the cusp of heaven on earth right now. Foundation is where exactly? Sorry, I'm not too sure because I'm little bit behind with the comments. Foundation is where? The foundation of the system is inverted against moral conscience. I'm not too sure if you're referring to that. In other words, it's all corrupt, fraudulent, criminal inversion against their own laws that they've implemented. So in other words, everyone else has to follow their laws, but not those who are leading those society, shall we say. Right? It's been inverted. I am trying to invert it back to a foundation of truth, which is moral conscience. Moral conscience is we need a reset to truth and then maintain that truth via transparency in the system and have the foundation of moral conscience as that truth. What's happening on the 12th of August? Potentially nothing. Symbolic. Potentially, if they have, it's possible they've been deceived about an apocalyptic event and that there's going to be a false, no, I won't say false, a false apocalyptic event, them hiding in their tunnel systems and a judgment event taking place against them. That could be what is being planned for the 12th of August. It could be a real creator event of a rapture on earth, in which case those that are the right people in this to be saved will be saved in a rapture event. I suspect it is a symbolic timeline event through the evidence in relation to what I'm exposing and potentially who I am, to act as a catalyst to the truth, I suspect. However, there's no harm in you being somewhere on high level ground on that time, on that date, just in case, and deciding whether you're going to hold on if gravity is lost or let yourself go. It's up to you, of course. It's like you went through the Truman Show in real life. Thanks, user. It's fairly obvious the Truman Show was set up because of me, was created. The co-director was a Rothschild. Okay, Rothschild linked straight to me. The light that fell from the ceiling at the beginning of that movie has Sirius A on it. Sirius A is a star linking into Sophia and the feminine divinity of the creator, which appears to be tying into wisdom and into the moral conscience foundation within society, within humanity, and they have excluded femininity within the secret society organizations that they have set up, which is part of, it looks like, the exclusion of moral conscience within the system. If I did a citizen's arrest, I would be laughed at and probably sectioned. Goodbye, Sazzy. This is what they're trying to make you believe, right? So they plant seeds within your mind by people like that, okay? Nothing can happen to anybody legally, okay, by you following my strategy. Nothing can happen. So I've blocked you, Sassy, because I suspect you are compromised. Unfortunately, Gary, they can destroy you very easily. But they are not. This is what you need to be asking the question. Why is Gary still here? Why is he not being taken out? Now, they have made me know they know where I am, but they are not ending my life. You need to be asking why, because I'm not part of them, obviously, because I'm saying they all need to be arrested and their influence needs to be removed, and we need a new system of transparency on Earth. So it's not that I'm part of them and working for them. It's very possible I'm bloodline to those central to the, or instrumental in relation to this international criminal network, linking in with the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. Which means, okay, they have targeted their own through targeting me financially, because I won't be part of their corrupt, evil system, and I'm trying to end that evil system in a transitional way to bring heaven on earth, which will actually save them through that process, through the removal of the eternal judgment by full disclosure of the truth, by complete repentance, and by a commitment to change and get behind me and facilitate me into bringing heaven on earth through a new system on earth. They are not choosing to do that, but they are also not getting rid of me. Interesting, isn't it? Just lost a friend after discussion. She wears a veil of saintly godliness, but she's devilish, someone's put. The evidence, go to Gary's Telegram page, Gary for Freedom, scroll up and download the document. Thank you very much. Yeah, go to Gary for Freedom and you'll see the most recent document that's been publicised, which was on the 5th of June, I believe. There's a lot more evidence coming out, which I've acquired, which we'll be going into that document. The trouble is the document's going to be so huge now. It's going to be well over 4,000 pages now. They're going to break the Hoover Dam, someone said. I've tried to stand up. Yeah, I'm sure you have, Sazzy. Suspect you were compromised. Hi there. Do you believe that God wants us to continue exploiting other animals for our own purpose? No, 100% not. I believe we have desecrated the Creator through what we have been doing to the animals. Absolutely. I believe they are a symbol or symbology of Christ's moral conscience. And that sounds, what do I mean by that? I believe they represent the innocence and the righteousness of Christ. You know, there is no ulterior motive, as far as we're aware, through any other creature on earth, and we have absolutely exploited them, caused suffering to them. We have attacked them. We have disregarded them. We, completely taken them for granted, and that will have to change. Moving forward. We have been given an incredible opportunity to actually be guardians over billions of other life forms and to protect them and nurture them, and we have actually, to a large extent, completely gone against that, which I believe means we've completely gone against the Creator by that role that we were given, very, very honoured role that we were given. Yeah, my screen's, I think it's because it's the moisture here where I am. Do you believe we are suffering global warming at the moment, or resist just free weather, I wonder? Interesting question. Do I believe? I don't believe it's what they're saying 100%. I believe it's part of a collaborative deception. Everything else is a deception. Do I believe we could pose a risk through our management of Earth? Of course. You've only got to look at, if I was to continuously throw my rubbish into a pond, then I'm going to have effect. Will that have effect on the atmosphere on a large scale? It's hard to believe that it wouldn't if, for example, we are burning something, whether it's tyres, if you burn tyres and it creates black smoke, or plastic. Do I believe that will have a detrimental effect on the environment and therefore the climate? It's hard not to consider that it may be, but is it exactly what they've portrayed, and is it as a bigger problem as they're portrayed? Possibly not. We can't trust the word they're saying. Basically, we cannot trust the word they're saying because of this system of lies and deception that they have in place. It provides the motive for the lies, and therefore we have to be considering that they're utilising the climate change agenda to manipulate and control an agenda moving forward in all of this, whether that be a financial agenda, whether that be a depopulation agenda, whether that be literally an enslavement agenda or whatever. But I can't see how we can't have an effect on the environment through that. Will it affect climate change? Again, I come back to, if we put enough harmful substances in the air, I can't see how that couldn't somehow affect climate somehow. But does it do it to the extent they're claiming? Possibly not. It's interesting, the timing of the climate change agenda really began, according to what I've looked at, in 2015 with the Paris Accord, I think it was. That's also the year that they claimed that they had found two black holes colliding together for the first time. Okay, two black holes colliding links to the evidence of the 12th of August this year, which is how they are claiming, not the government, but how the conspiracy theory is claiming that the ripple through those colliding black holes are going to collide with Earth, causing a loss of gravity on the 12th of August for 7 seconds. It's very specific, isn't it? 7 seconds is what this conspiracy theory says. I suspect this is all very, very symbolic, right? Because the date that they discovered those two black holes colliding is the exact same day and month as another key person in my evidence, or somebody that they are staging to appear to be key in this, and it's the exact same date, okay, day and month, as a change in company name, the only change in company name, linking to, as I've said, the evidence of the Knights Templar location, Temple Manor, linking to my former school and the Waterman offshore companies. The exact same day and month is the same day and month in 2015 that they claimed that they had first discovered two black holes colliding. They then monitored, they claimed, the ripples from those initial two black holes, okay, on, I can't remember the exact date. They monitored them hitting Earth on that day. Then there was another two black holes that they claimed collided, okay, that they discovered in 2023, which potentially could relate to this hoax of the 12th of August. Global warming is man-made, whether tech manipulation. What will happen on the 12th of August? What do you advise you do? Thanks, Julia. I would advise there's no harm. Look, I don't think anyone needs to be scared, first of all. As long as you are on the right side of this, I don't think you've got anything to be scared about, because I believe there is a creator and I believe they are good. And I believe we are literally probably on the return of Christ right in this moment in time. All right, and we're possibly coming to the end of the tribulation. So as long as you're on the right side of this, I don't believe you've got anything to fear. That's the first thing I need to say. But there is no harm in, because nobody wants to, most people don't want to lose their lives. Why would we? By us giving up our lives, it's also a mockery to the Creator. It's the greatest gift we've ever been given. So why would you generally want to give your life away? I know a lot of people do. And again, that is predominantly because of the system. All right? Because the system, problem, reaction, solution, it causes mental health issues. All right? It causes the removal of clarity, the removal of rationality, and the separation of moral conscience, and therefore the Creator. It causes depression, mental health, anxiety. Obviously, a lot of that, along with addictions, which they're also behind, because they're behind the drugs and the alcohol, it creates suicidal thoughts and tendencies. But, so, there is no harm with you wanting to carry on living, all right, because it is the greatest gift. So, it's up to you, because if this is a real rapture event and suddenly gravity is lost and you feel yourself lifting from the ground, you need to consider, do you hold on to this materialistic, corrupted world which my evidence is showing, which I believe is still possible for salvation. I believe we can still turn this around physically and materialistically in this plane, okay, on this time that we're living in at the moment. I believe that's still possible, very, very easily actually, and very simply through the evidence and the inverting that evidence and the system back on itself to truth. This is a long answer. I advise you to go to high ground on that date, just in case, if you can. There is no harm, is there, in just, if you can, on that date, around that time, which is 3:33 p.m. On the 12th of August, just going up to higher ground, just in case there is going to be a tribulation event of tsunamis, which could obviously end your life. You need to make the decision, do you hold on or do you let go if, and it's a big if, there is a loss of gravity. I suspect it is all symbolic on a timely way with my evidence as a catalyst to the truth. That's what I suspect this is about. But no harm, get on high ground and decide if you're going to hold on or not, if you are raptured from Earth or if you are not. Did you see the map where USA has been changed? That's because they break the Hoover Dam. I have heard about that. A lot of people have said about this, Starry Held. There's a lot of things I've heard, about different things happening. Possibly it's something they may do. Why haven't you chosen your 12 disciples to help you spread your message, as currently it's just not out there? Because, look, they are restricting my evidence. There was a point where I had 12 people that I thought, and I was actually going along the lines of, I wonder if this was relating to these 12 disciples and 12 apostles. And then some of those people ended up turning against me. So all I can do is try my best to get this evidence out there, but they are suppressing it. They are stopping the numbers going up. I should have many, many more viewers than I'm having, many, many more people following. I actually saw the numbers go down. So they are actually bringing the numbers down physically. I've got people telling me that people are being kicked off of subscribing for my YouTube channel. It seems as though they want to control the flow of my evidence, but not stop it completely, so they can time how they resolve this and how they resolve me, timing in to fit their agenda. Which again, it shows they are satanic in doing that, because what they are fighting against, if I am who it appears I am, means they are going against the very foundation of creation through the embodiment, potentially, of the creator through the bloodline and the return, by suppressing the truth. And that means they will face eternal judgment. There's been many times on my YouTube channels over the last few weeks, they have just kicked me off of my lives 5 or 6 times repeatedly on my live stream. And I've literally done a prayer and had to ask that there is an example made of those specific individuals, potentially eternal judgment, to try and prevent that from continuing to happen. So if you haven't been born again with the Art Rorsch, you'd be booted down the pit, someone said. It's unbelievable how many people are still under their spell, someone has said. Many people are part of this, unfortunately, part of the fraud, if not the crimes against the children. Someone's put no black holes and no gravity, so fear has gone. And that's user 333 at the end, which is the time of the gravity loss in 2000 on the 18th of the 12th of August. So read into that what you will, everybody. User ending 333, the same time as that event, is saying no black holes and there is no gravity, so fear gone. Is that them? Who knows? I'll let you read into what you think of that. Yeah, and 333 also mentioned the spell that everyone's mentioned. Any information on HPV machine? What do you think they are using it for? HPV, I'm not even too sure what that is, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Is it Collider? I don't know from that acronym. I don't know what that is. The judgment seat of God, someone has put, is for the wicked. Is for the wicked. Anyone alive will get glorified body and live forever. Someone's put. Someone's put judgment, failure and brimstone. Someone's trying to call me. I've just had to hang up. Sorry. Someone's put the Rauch is the spirit. Starry, the second death means nothing to followers after judgment, someone said. Truth to not to light. Thank you for your comment. Starry Holders put second death is when the creator and judgment occurs. Kyle's put he keeps getting kicked off of YouTube. Yeah, I've had several people saying that. As I said, they're kicking me off of the lives when I do them on YouTube. 5 or 6 times a night sometimes. Just saying what's in scripture, not my words, the creator. Truth to life has put. Thank you very much. Stormy YY in Qatar. Interesting how all these usernames. Qatar is very relevant to this. That's not how it works. Once you expose, you need to expose big time, not via TikTok. X is the place. They're stopping me on X as well. Interesting. Why have you in Qatar? Qatar is massively connected to the crimes against the children and the attacks in Israel, all linking via the evidence. Thank you very much, Legs, for your comment. Appreciate it. Legs. Adam and Eve declassified comes to mind. Great shift, Robert's put. Local head has put, stay safe everyone. Need to go to the shops. Hope to hear from you soon, Gary. Support from Ireland. Thank you very much, local head. Really appreciate your comment. Great to have people here from different locations. Loved Ireland. I spent, how long did we spend there? 3 months? Was it 3 months? Thanks very much, Air Force Duck. If you'd like to read through my document, go to my Telegram channel page, Gary for Freedom. Gary for Freedom. Scroll up and you will see the document, 0506 with the date. The main evidential research document. You can get and download my latest publicised document. That's on Telegram, Gary for Freedom. Scroll up and you will see a document. However, there is much more evidence coming out in my next document, which of course I will put on Telegram. Again, Telegram is massively suppressed. Massively. My numbers have stayed the same and now actually gone down, but they stayed the same for 2 years, I think. Wouldn't even go up at all. And it actually, on the Company's House records, it goes straight to Exbourne Manor, which is where my investigation began. Immediately on the Company's House record. This is Telegram. What does your wife think and your kids? You go on about your kids. JLM Building Services. Interesting name again. JLM. Don't have kids. Haven't had kids. Someone's put not scared. Bring it on. Can't wait. Brilliant. Thank you. Then please go out and do the citizens' arrests. You can send me the video. Let me know which company you're going to be doing. I will do a little bit of research for you on that company just to confirm. Send you the evidence as well first, and then you can go and do that citizen's arrest. If Tommy Robinson can spread hate on X, and TikTok won't spread the message out. Yeah, they're suppressing me on X as well. What they did is they allowed me to put hardly any text. Literally, I couldn't put hardly any text at all on it. Elon Musk is massively part of this, all right? And he realised I was exposed. He's obviously a puppet in this, but they realised I was exposing Elon Musk through X, so they reduced to like literally 3. It was hardly anything I could put on there. Thank you very much, Legs. Appreciate your comment. Are you anywhere near Baldock, Hertfordshire? Do you need a safe place to stay, Gary? No, I'm okay. Thanks very much. Awake. I'm living in a tent. It's uncomfortable. It's not really what I want to be doing, but I don't really see the right thing to do is for me to keep doing this at the moment. We can agree to disagree. I know who I am, and I know the enemy. Someone's put truth to light. That's put. Tony Stirrans put, did I have the injections? Yes, I had 2 or 3 of the injections. I believed everything back then. Someone's put, not fairy tales. Vanessa says she's going for a nice meal after this is over. Yes, absolutely. It's got to end, everybody. All right. It's if we don't end this through the evidence and the strategy and do the right thing, the evidence is suggesting that it will be ended through the creator potentially, or them thinking they are the creator and creating an event to end everything. You know, something's got to give. Now, I don't believe that's meant to happen. I don't want that to happen. I want full disclosure of the truth, repentance, full repentance, and a collective commitment to change the system forever so that this never happens again. A system of truth and transparency. It's very easily done, everybody, where there is equality and fairness for all of humanity. Nobody seems to be budging on this, which means, you know, we've got to consider there may be a creator event incoming, and if that is the case, I don't think many people are going to survive spiritually that creator event. Even me, potentially, and I had a conversation with someone on the phone. I said, look, I don't think even I've done enough with this. I should be out arresting these people. Now, I've got to think very, very carefully because I have a potential arrest warrant for me. And if I'm taken out of the game, then that means there is no way that I can then be part of a transitional system, which I think is going to need to be essential moving forward to bring heaven on earth. So therefore, I have to come back to, okay, as much as I want to, am I going to be judged for not doing that? I don't know. You know, and that, you know, I've got to think tactically and strategically and just pray that people out there actually do the right thing in this. Whether those people instrumental in this come forward with full disclosure of the truth, repentance, etc., or those not involved instrumentally actually follow my strategy to the point where they trigger an awakening and trigger a change. And those people, whichever side they're on, they become heroes, whether they're part of the system or they're not. Those two groups of people will become heroes, and I will absolutely acknowledge those people when the time is right, and they will be rewarded, make no mistake, eternally off of this earth, if not on this earth, for being one of those groups of people. Either those instrumental in the system or behind the system coming forward, a disclosure of truth, repentance, commitment to change, and somehow being protected through doing that process, even if they come and staying in a tent. You know, do what I'm doing. All those involved in partaking in the criminal system, but not facilitating it knowingly, coming forward, they will be, in my mind, heroes and will have eternal reward, I believe, for being one of those two types of people. Is Donald Trump part of it? Yes, 100%. 100%. The only way he can be good in this, well, even then it's not, he can't be good in this, but let's just say how he can be redeemed as not being quite as evil, is if all of this is some sort of massive deception, which you're talking about a massive international collaborative deception against all of humanity, and specifically, it seems, against me because of who I may be in this. But you would still have the criminal financial system underlying the entire thing, which deliberately and knowingly facilitates international conflicts, terrorism, drug trafficking, and crimes against children. As an obvious, that's a fact. So even with that, it's still evil, isn't it? Donald Trump, straight to Trump Towers from the adrenochrome document linked to a company called CYM, immediately to Trump Towers, multiple connections to Donald Trump, to Exborn Manor, to my families, into the international criminal network. Also, I found out that today I was looking at, I knew this anyway, but I hadn't really gone into it. CERN is supposedly built over a connection to Apollyon, and Apollyon links to Apollo, I believe, and Apollo is a symbol or symbolic figure that Donald Trump loves. All in his property in Trump Towers, he has lots of references to Apollo. Now, Apollyon is a word used for the devil as well. And the evidence, information is that where Geneva is, it sits on some sort of historical, Geneva is where the Large Hadron Collider is, where the seat of Satan may somehow connect into. And this is why, this is speculation, this is why they chose that location for the Large Hadron Collider, which could then tie in with Revelation 9:11. Bearing in mind, 9/11 is the date of the World Trade Center disaster, everybody, and Donald Trump was positioned as the 45th president, 4 and 5, in, which makes 9, in 2017, and then 47th, 4 and 7 makes 11, so that's 9/11, everybody, all right? The same date as the World Trade Center disaster, and Apollyon links into, it looks like, CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, the seat of Satan, and Revelation 9:11, which talks about the bottomless pit. Now, of course, if you have a black hole, again, this all could be symbology, but if you have a black hole, you could consider that is potentially a bottomless pit, never ending, because they don't know what is on the other side of that black hole. And Elon Musk links immediately to Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking was trying to get CERN to create a black hole on Earth. There's even an article about it, using the Large Hadron Collider, and they both link to the exact same name on their incorporation documents. And SpaceX, okay, has been, as you know, recently floated on the, I think it was the Australian market, which links into the Doomsday Cult, and that it was around that time that he was triggered as he became, the first trillionaire on Earth. X again, everybody. X linking to me, linking to the bloodline of Christ. Planet X, his Twitter, 2022, when it changed Twitter to X, as I was exposing the international government fraud. And Elon Musk wore a Baphomet, which is the symbol of the Church of Satan, on his costume at a Halloween party in 2022, everybody. And in July 2022, which is when Anthony Roberts resigned as a director of Exborn Manor, triggering my investigation, Kemble Musk, Elon Musk's brother, acquired a drone company. This then links in with the deception around the extraterrestrials and the alien deception element in all of this. Let's get rid of Jamie Carter. Thank you very much, user. I love my enthusiasm. I mean, look, you have to, don't you? When you're so engrossed in all of this and you desperately know that you need to save children and save creation, there's no other alternative but to be enthusiastic and committed and motivated in this. Why don't I believe in Jesus? I don't believe the name of Jesus. I believe Christ was a real figure. Yeah, I suspect Christ was a real figure. Do I believe everything around the story of Christ? No. Do I believe he is probably the salvation in all of this? Yes. Yes, through the moral conscience, and Christ being the foundation of moral conscience and the embodiment in a human form of that, from the Creator. Christ's conscience. In a nutshell, what do we say to solicitors proving that they are part of this fraud? Okay, you don't need to prove it. Okay, you only have to need to believe it. Right? Proving it is in a court of law. This is why police officers only have to have a reasonable grounds to suspect. Very, very vague grounds. That could be, someone's told me that that person over there has assaulted somebody, or they're just given a phone call of a description, somebody that's assaulted someone. They've never met the person on the phone. They then go there, there's a person of that description, they arrest them. Reasonable grounds to suspect. You just have to believe that they have a part of this. Right? It's not proving it. Right? It's the first thing you need to understand. This whole centralized criminal system is literally centralized, as I've said, to a criminal network. The solicitors are key to that. So all you need to do, first of all, is have access to my document before you go and do the arrest. So you can email me, GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com, or you can message me on TikTok. Let me know the company that you're going to. I will do a little bit of research. I will then send you that research. You then have the proof of that company. They are all anyway, they're all central. I can tell you that without doing the research. But you will want, obviously, some element of proof to do to go and speak to that solicitor to make you feel confident. I went into 3 locations in Inverness, hadn't even researched them, didn't even need to because I knew, and straight away they were linking into the Royals, into John Fleming, who was linked to Deborah Fleming. He was the husband of the wife that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor for refusing to file the forged bank documents. They linked to CERN Limited, and so I can tell you they're all connected. But for your peace of mind, we can do that, and then you can literally go there armed with that evidence. They only have to have reasonable grounds to suspect the police, and the criteria to arrest is now essential to protect humanity, to protect the children, which means arrests need to be made, all right, to allow a prompt investigation and the protection of those children, of humanity, which means the criteria for the arrests kicks in. So you just need to go there and say, look, you've been identified as being part of a centralised criminal system in place that is facilitating the laundering of money in relation to international conflicts, terrorism and deception, and specify, you need to be specific about the crimes against the children and the apparent torture of those children, because you're going to be getting their faces on these videos. Now, they represent the company. Remember, you're not directing it personally at them. By sitting in that company's in that corporation and by working for them, they represent that company. So you are directing it towards the company, but of course they are a human form of that company. So you need to make this clear to them. You can even say to them that this is not specifically about you. This is about the company that you represent, but nobody is doing anything. You might want to say the Jeffrey Epstein files have been released, but nothing is happening around that. And Gary Waterman, a former police officer, is providing irrefutable evidence. You may have seen my document at this point. And therefore, you need to remain with me whilst I call the police, because nobody is doing anything about this. All right? You don't need to get into their physical space. You don't need to hold on to them. You don't need to put handcuffs on them or anything like this. It is about the exposure of their face to those words. You then call the police. You video all of this. You then video the police turning up and say words to the effect of, this company is part of a centralised criminal network facilitating the laundering of money in relation to international conflicts, terrorism and deception. You only have to have reasonable grounds to suspect that a crime is being taking place, and you need to protect the children and humanity moving forward, and your arrest criteria allows you to do that. You only have to have reasonable grounds. Please, can you now go and arrest those individuals? I can present the evidence to you immediately. Gary Waterman can present the evidence to you immediately on an email. At this point, you may have a USB stick in your hand if you wanted to, with my document on it, pre-planned. You may say you're going to email it to them afterwards and expose the police's face. All right, it is important you get their face on video, and you say, can you please now arrest these people, because they are conspiring to allow this fraud to continue. Conspiring is a very broad offence, okay? All of the governments now, government personnel, the councillors, the MPs, anybody that is aware of this, and they all will be, all right, because it's linked to the taxation system and the laundering of the money, can be considered as conspiring to allow international fraud and crimes against humanity to continue. Anybody has a power to arrest for that. You don't have to prove it at that point, right? You don't have to prove it at that point. You can just do it based on you believing that at that point to affect the arrest, everybody. So important you understand this. It's separate from a conviction. It's separate from proving it. The court process is about proving it. Now, those police officers, they may not arrest, okay? In which case, you then have their faces linked to aiding and abetting a criminal network, all right? And their faces will be in the document. Their faces will be put into the document. The video will be circulated, and they will be part of, and they will be arrested for their part, either at that point or later, by the people in relation to the international criminal network. Someone's put the Creator shows you in Revelation with the 7 assemblies. Thank you very much. Another 7 becomes relevant to the 7 seconds. There's many, many 7 connections into this. The 7 words or 7 phrases that were said by Christ on his crucifixion, including, forgive them for they know not what they do. That is very important now as to what is going on with my evidence. because we can no longer use that as an excuse, everybody. Everybody that chooses to do nothing now, everybody that chooses not to follow my strategy, all right, and follow the evidence, use it to turn this around. You can't use that as an excuse. You have the evidence. You have the strategy. Based on that evidence, there therefore may be no forgiveness for you eternally in what may be coming. What do you think you are, Gary? The overwhelming evidence suggests I'm linked into and potentially a direct bloodline of Christ through the descendants and Lucifer, and potentially how that may relate somehow to the second coming. That is what all of the evidence is suggesting. Goodbye, Jordan. Interesting name. Jordan and Sons is one of the most important companies. No, it is the most important company in the fraud. You notice how they choose references for their usernames, which actually links into the evidence. And some of you may say, no, it's just coincidence. No. I saw a ritual video on TikTok, how they let that on. Sorry, I saw someone's put, Lewis put, I saw a ritual video on TikTok, how they let that on is very evil. I'm not too sure which one. You're talking about the ritual at CERN? Yeah, they're claiming that was a hoax. Thank you very much, Emma. Appreciate your comment. Emma's put the creator is with you now, Gary. Thank you very much, Emma. Vatican building is Satan's church, someone has said. I heard that too from Astrid Struckelberger. LHC is at the site of Apollyon. Yes, yes. Thank you. That's there is sort of some information contradicting it. I can't be sure, but there's obviously a reason they would have chosen CERN there. And you'll know that. Did you notice that Donald Trump gave Elon Musk a key? This was a key time, when I was releasing some of my evidence last year, and days after I made a biblical reference to that being the key to the bottomless pit, I think it was the day after or 2 days after, Elon Musk and Donald Trump suddenly had a tiff, and they fell out and went their separate ways. Literally, as I exposed that evidence, everybody. The key being given to Elon Musk, and I said it probably related to the key of the bottomless pit in Revelation 9:11. Do you know that there is a difference between Satan and Lucifer? Some people claim it's the same. As far as I'm aware, Lucifer was could be wrong, the brother of Christ. And this is how the bloodline of Lucifer and Christ was then descended down into the bloodline existence on earth through the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. Satan, as far as I'm aware, is the devil counterpart of the creator, as far as I understand it. They were men inspired, someone said. This is spiritual. We are on a religious 13 relegations 13, about to go into 14. Relegations 13, someone's put. Thank you. Go look up Trump's commercial about mattresses. There's sheep in it. 9 and 11 pinned on the sheep. Interesting. Thank you very much, Starry Held. I didn't know that. X-Men, someone's put. Yeah, X-Men is very relevant. X-Men was released in New York, premiered on the exact same day that the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider was activated for the first time. The Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider, a lot of people don't know about that, the RHIC in New York. It was first started to be built in 1991, which is the same year as my favourite movie, The Terminator 2 Judgment Day, came out, which actually links to me via the Company's House Records, via its director James Cameron, to Ingenious Film Partners 2. Ingenious Film Partners links to those that I grew up with, and is on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that connects most areas of the fraud together. X-Men, that first movie, was by Bryan Singer. He was the director. He links to a child abuse network within Hollywood, according to the research. He also directed Superman Returns. Superman Returns came out in 2006, the year that I moved from Kent to Dorset, the same year that the Da Vinci Code movie came out, which relates to the hidden bloodline of Christ and the inverted pyramids, which links into the Louvre Museum, which connects into me. Superman, as I've said, the previous movie was A Quest for Peace from 1987. And the latest Superman movie, the one Supergirl movie and the Superman one was by James Gunn. James Gunn links to Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn connects to me via the Company's House Records. There's loads of directors coming in from these movies that actually make the links to me via these movies. Now, my mum is linked to Hollywood, including Ridley Scott, via her employee, almost immediately from the research of her employee. Ridley Scott's brother was called Tony. Tony was born in Chatham. Chatham is where I was born, in Kent. This is right near Sittingbourne. Sittingbourne links to vampirism and Varney the Vampire. All right, in the 1800s, the largest printing factory in the world at the time, printing the Penny Dreadfuls, which relates to which relates to Sweeney Todd and vampirism via Varney the Vampire, and they were created by Edward Lloyd. Edward Lloyd married a member of the Fleming family in 1920. I suspect Lloyd relates to a connection to Lloyd's Bank. They were the forged bank documents that are acquired via the company. Lloyd's Bank is also on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, connecting to me, where Ingenious Film Partners 2 is also on there. So is the Hakluyt International Advisory Board, which links to the intelligence agencies, the Russian government, the Flemings, and to the intelligence agencies, Russian government, royal family, and yeah, I think that's it, intelligence agencies. And then that company dissolved after I exposed it. X-Men is very relevant. But I'm fine with your point of view. I have my own. Absolutely, everyone is entitled to their own view. Of course they are. Absolutely. We all have freedom of thought and freedom of opinion. Is Mary Lou MC Donnell a Sinn Féin in Ireland? Is Mary Lou MC Donnell? I don't know, but I know that Sinn Féin and the IRA is a massive part of the collaborative deception. Okay, so Jerry Adams links very quickly to Ingenious Film Partners 2, which links to me. Okay, this is irrefutable on the Company's House Records. Okay, Robbie Williams links to Ingenious Film Partners 2 immediately. This is Robbie Williams, the singer, who links to Richard Knighton via the research. Richard Knighton was positioned as the head of the UK military last year after I continued the exposure. Ingenious Film Partners 2, also where else connects immediately to a lot of famous people. I'm trying to, as none of the others come into my mind at the moment. In 2017, someone said he turned Zionist. Someone says, joining the dots. Vanessa's put, I was told that Trump stands for the Republic under military power. Have you all noticed that they love MAGA, M-A-G-A, Make America Great Again? Donald Trump's had it on his hat a lot. Do you know what that also is? The highest position within the Church of Satan. MAGA, or MAGA. It's the highest position within the Church of Satan. It's been there all along, everybody. Okay? Then Revelations 13:14 tells us a massive shaking is coming. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of talk of physical activity happening. We also need to consider that it could be symbolic, a shaking of the system. You know, the end of the world that we've known. Yes, you know, I'm not ruling out any physical changes, because it may be that there has to get rid of those behind this system if they're not going to do it in the right way. Do you know what there is a difference? Hopefully I've answered that. Is Russia involved in this? 100%. You're all living under an international collaborative deception. 100% the Russian government is involved in this. It links straight to Exborn Manor in the research multiple ways in relation to Ossumsley Manor, which links to Aleister Crowley and the Profumer affair. If you're not aware of that, go and look at it. Quite interesting. That links to the Cray twins. The Cray twins links to my family, and the Ossumsley Manor links immediately to Exborn Manor Freehold Limited. where my investigation began. They all work for the bar. That is the crown, and they own your name. Yeah, very much true. The bar is very important. The Temple Bar. Yeah, it's in the name, everybody. Temple. Satanic Temple. You've got in here. Linked into this in a lot of ways. The Temple Bar ties into the Sweeney Todd, because when you research it, you'll find that there was, I'm trying to make sure I get this right, there's a link to a Temple Bar was actually a bar in London, where people within the legal system used to go and drink, but they also used to have mutton pies, PIE, which is the same acronym for the Paedophile Information Exchange. The pie link makes the link to Sweeney Todd, right? Which, remember, I've told you they've set up a Sweeney Todd group linking to vampirism on the Company's House records, the links to the BBC, the Royals, the Vatican, vampirism, all tying in. And the Paedophile Information Exchange has the acronym PIE, everybody. And that links to the World Trade Center disaster via the National Council for Civil Liberties, via Liberty Grant was granted to Larry Silverstein after the collapse of those buildings. Can't believe how much it's all linked. You put that together so well. Yeah, it's all very far more quickly than anyone believes. Honestly, it is so quickly connected. All of the stuff, all of the big events that's been going on in the world, everything linked to this fraud. It's the Company's House fraud that connects it all together. That's why this is the key, and I believe it is the key of David, which links into Scripture to bring heaven on earth. And don't forget, we have the link to St David in St David's Cathedral in Wales, which links to the burial chambers, which links to the Ark of the Covenant and the bleeding yew tree, and it links to me and the Freemasons and to the to Egyptology, and it can it's just so quickly all entwined to the Flemings again. How's August the 12th looking? Anything could happen, possibly. I suspect it's a timely, symbolic catalyst to the truth. But who knows for sure? Something has to change. It may be the Creator chooses that date as the date to change everything. After nearly a year, West Mercia Police have responded saying the link to your document isn't safe. Any old excuse. Thank you very much for that. Just ad ornament. Thank you very much. This is the sort of sorry, what your name there? Just ad ornament. That's a long old name. Mission. You've got mission at the end of your name. Mission. Sorry, I'm probably getting that completely wrong. You're so close to close by the sounds of it, but you're way off with Christ's conscience. Thank you, D. You're entitled to your opinion. Gary, is there any links on your wall, on my wall, about the council tax fraud I could use, please? Oh yeah, council tax is all related to this, 100%. All taxation is, not just council tax. HMRC is linked into the International Criminal Network in multiple ways. So yeah, what you need to do is a conditional notice of acceptance. I would advise sending them my document if necessary. You can get that on the Telegram page, Gary for Freedom. Send that and say, look, I'll agree to pay any tax and I'll backdate it if necessary once you can implement a transparent system to safeguard humanity, safeguard children and safeguard creation. All right. And that needs to be done through a transparent financial system, so that you can physically see at source where the council tax is being spent. They're not doing that, everybody. And they're desperate to avoid that, because that means their little way of life is gone. Their exploitation, their blood harvesting, their drug trafficking, their international conflict, their problem reaction solution criminal network on earth is over. It means the problems will be no more to the extent that we believe they have been there. You will find heaven on earth will happen fairly quickly, not necessarily my lifetime, but in the next generations. Police are all corrupt unless you yourself, ex-officer who is not scared of speaking up. Someone's put. The police are corrupted by the system, and many people within the police are Freemasons, which is a secret society for fraternity, which is linked to the blood of the children and the International Criminal Network. And they've gone under the false guise of charitable organisations, setting them up, entrapping people into them, when actually those charitable organisations, most of them, are criminal organisations, which facilitates the laundering of the money through those charitable organisations. This is why right the way through my research, you'll see age companies, massively all the way through this research. Age companies which is obviously linking into age concern, makes a very important connection throughout my document. And someone's put, of course, along with the criminal networks in companies to launder money. Someone's put there. I don't know what the first bit was. What you said is perfectly true. Thank you. I'm not too sure what you're referring to there. D has put, that's absolutely mental. How did you come to that conclusion? Okay. I'm going to get rid of D. There's been a couple of comments. I'm pretty good at discerning now whether people are compromised. Gonna get it wrong sometimes, but I haven't got time to mess around with people that may be. That's absolutely got rid of that. Do you have anything on the Yardies, Gary? Michael and David Emery worked for them. No, sorry, Vanessa. Some of my comments have been removed from here, Gary, by TikTok. Thanks, Dari Held. Nothing is coincidence. Someone's put. Thank you for your comments. Rio. Is that Reoct? My eyes are terrible. Gary, what's happening with Contact A? Unfortunately, I'm going to be doing an update about that. So we basically reunited, and then I've got the screenshots to confirm this. I was then trying to get them to publicly unite with me by concealing their face and concealing their voice and not talking about their family. Okay? So that eliminated really any concerns they were having, and they refused to answer when they were going to be doing that. I asked them multiple times, when are you, because it would be very important to unite with somebody. Now, they are very, very important in all of this evidence. They've either been set up and staged to look like they're important, or they are, but they're corrupted by either the system, potentially, or they are the embodiment in the human form of the Antichrist. Because I was asking, when are we going to do the live? You know, with you being concealed, with your face, with your voice, and we won't talk about your family. So you haven't got to worry about that. And they literally, out of the blue, said FUCK off to me. A massive moment for me. Because they had never sworn, never used a word like that at all. And there's been no apology, there's been no explanation. Which now, what I was saying is that they were potentially the embodiment in human form of the Antichrist, because the evidence was showing that we may have both had the bloodline of Christ and the Antichrist within us. Now that immediately, in my mind and my assessment of the evidence, heightens the chance that they may knowingly be being set up as an Antichrist symbology, or they are the symbology of the Antichrist through the bloodline of Lucifer. Now, if either one of those things is true, then it's massive. It's massive. Because that means that either they've set up the symbology of Christ and the Antichrist to be here now on earth, or it is the embodiment through the creator of the Christ and the Antichrist here on earth. Either way, that means we're at the end of the tribulation event, if those things are true. Which means the whole timeline of events changes. Now, to actually use those words, FUCK, to me, when they have been seeing the evidence potentially saying or symbolizing that I may be Christ, emphasizes again them as potentially the Antichrist. Now, this then also links back into the evidence of the, believe it or not, potentially in relation to the removal of the feminine physicality, the physical feminine being, shall we say, from history. So within the Last Supper, for example, there is speculation that one of the people sat at the table with Christ to it'd be Christ's right-hand side was Mary Magdalene. And they tried making the world believe that that was the apostle, I think it was John, which is trying to suggest that the feminine divinity was removed from that painting for a reason, as well as the secret societies not having females within their organisations. So, of course, I have to consider, was that them setting up a symbolic moment for me to identify that the Antichrist may be female or portraying as a female with ginger hair? Now, Contact A is obviously claiming to be a female with ginger hair and is now reinforced my concerns of her being a potential Antichrist symbology, if that makes sense in all of this. Now, this evidence will be being released and disclosed at some point, and this means there will need to be full disclosure of the evidence that I have around Contact A, which is something I was hoping to minimise in this. But if there is a chance that they are being set up as the symbolic Antichrist, or they are, then it changes everything. Everything. It changes the timeline, because, as I've said, it means we are at the end of the tribulation, and the second coming of Christ is upon everybody. So that's what's the latest with Contact A. Now, they have sent me some messages since. I am not responding, because that reaction has really exposed them one way or the other in this. Whether it's, as I've said, they are being set up as being the Antichrist symbology, or they are. Where did you learn? Yeah, definitely have to get rid of. I thought I've got rid of D. No, I have. So D's still able to comment. Gary, what's that? Oh, I've mentioned that. I'm not even going to respond to D anymore because they're corrupted. 13 Bloodlines. Yeah, so there's a document when you research my ring that was given to me by those that are linked to the centralised criminal system, okay? They gave me the ring via the inscriptions. It links to the Vatican via Companies House records of the search of that inscription almost immediately into the intelligence agencies to the person that introduced me to my wife, which was staged in 2007, the same year that Madeleine McCann went missing, the most famous missing person in all of human history, and the same year that the Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited was then actually incorporated. This is the company where my investigations began, and on that incorporation document is Anthony de Rea. Anthony de Rea linking to the Vatican via the de Rea family and to the military, and the other person on there being Diana Betts, who is a phlebotomist for the NHS linking to the blood, okay, of the innocent. 2007, where was I going with that? I carried on for too long and completely forgot where I was heading. I thought that was happening. As I was saying that, I was thinking, Gary, stop talking now, otherwise you're going to forget, and I have. Let me come back to what the comment was. My brain has completely malfunctioned. Oh dear. What was I going to say? Hold on, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, via my ring, that was it. So the 13 Bloodlines, that's it. Right. So that leads very quickly to a document, the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, which talks about the bloodline having Lucifer's blood and Christ's blood in it. Now, there's a lot of descendant families that claim to, or not a lot, but there are some that claim, such as the House of Stuart, that claim to be the descendants of Christ. You've got various other families linking into the 13 bloodlines. So I link via the ring that was given to me to information of the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. And remember, I'm linked to the Knights of the Round Table, not only by the 13th century Knights Templar location, but also by the company, the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table. Okay, so the 13 becomes very relevant to the strong concordance number. Thank you very much to Starry Held for this. Within the Hebrew Bible that talks about, if you don't know what the strong concordance number is, my understanding is that there is a coded system within Scripture where they have taken subjects and able to group them into a headed overall subject and give it a number. Number 13 relates to destruction. Destruction beyond all repair, where there is no coming back from. And when you read about what it means, it talks about the judgment upon humanity, upon man or humanity. But it also talks about, in the event of a potential unjust judgment, then the hidden hand of destruction of the Creator may remain hidden, and that destruction may not take place upon the earth as a destructive judgment, because it would be potentially unjust. So my evidence helps to support that a complete and utter destruction event would be unjust. All right, because of, as I've said, the deception within Christianity, the removal of moral conscience, that therefore the deception through the system to remove rationality and clarity, causing people to unknowingly realize why they are actually living a sinful life because of the separation of moral conscience and therefore the Creator. So it becomes unjust. How can you bring a catastrophic destruction event judgment upon all of humanity when most of humanity have been deceived through the system and a deception against Christ and against the Creator? Gary, where did Alex Jones say the elites are scared of the Scottish? Why did Alex? I'm not too sure. Jip I88, that 88 number also becomes relevant. Gary, you must be in Scotland. It's down here and you in your chat. Have you looked up any of the end of days signs prophesied in Islam? Some very interesting signs. No, I mean all of the signs, not specifically for Islam. No, I haven't. But it also talks about the three main Abrahamic faiths have very similar, or certain aspects that's similar anyway, to put it that way, in relation to the end of times. But I haven't specifically gone into signs in regarding the Quran. No, I haven't. The Batman 2 and Batgirl will tell full story. Interesting. Heard you saying worlds without ends. Oh, sorry. Heard the saying worlds without ends. Someone's put. Interesting. Yeah, well, there's actually a pub called the. Have you seen the World's End movie? There's a real pub called the World's End, which becomes very relevant in the research as well. That ties into big connections. I can't remember. I haven't got it in front of me now. I would ignore D. I can't block them. Gary, you might mention that. Connects the McCanns and missing children, someone's put. I'm not too sure what does, but this whole thing does that I'm exposing, yes. It's interesting, though. They've told us hundreds of thousands of children are going missing, and they're behind those hundreds of thousands of children potentially going missing. Now, I've had to think of many reasons why that may be. Is it that actually there's an apocalyptic event coming and they're having to set all of this up, and they're actually taking the children to save them in some sort of end of creation event? But that doesn't seem to be fitting the evidence overall. But that's very borderline what my theory may have been in this. But that doesn't make sense to the overall evidence. But I've had to consider that. The movie Knowing, I've had to consider as well. It came out in 2009, where they were aliens come down and took the children from the Earth before an apocalyptic event, before the end of the world. I found a banker in Switzerland who lived in a luxurious apartment within Zion Airport. He is damned, someone said. Yeah, I would ignore D completely. Red for the blood, someone's put. Gary, why did Alex Jones say the elites are scared of the Scottish? I didn't actually know he said that. I didn't know that they said that. There's a lot of history surrounding Scotland in this. You've got the main oldest active Freemason lodge in Edinburgh there, whether that's something to do with it. Wales is appearing very, very, very critical in the evidence now, particularly around the area of St David's Cathedral in the west of Wales there. My nan was from Pembroke, which is where that is. It's there, and vampires are shifting on their maggots. It's their end. Vampires are shifting on their maggots, someone has said. Welsh Warriors put any news on the 12th. Gary, sorry, I've just joined. Yeah, we've mentioned it a few times, Welsh Warrior. I suspect it's a symbolic timeline catalyst for the truth being exposed. However, there is still a lot of evidence that maybe something could happen on that date. So my advice is still the same. Get to high ground if you can. Nobody needs to be scared or fear this. And if there is an event where people start lifting into the air, it's up to you, but my advice is that you go with it and hope that it is a true rapture salvation event by the Creator. May not be. It may be them somehow manipulating gravity, but I doubt very much whether they have the ability to do that. But there is information that they are trying to make me believe, or others believe, they have the ability to manipulate gravity. I suspect they don't. Right? They could have done that deliberately to make people unsure as to whether it was the Creator or it was them, and therefore people would not let go and be saved from something that may be coming as a judgment against them. Someone's put the Batman. Interesting, very relevant Batman. Again, Batman linking to me, becoming very relevant in all of this. Is the Earth flat? I suspect not, but I could be wrong. I suspect not. Could be very wrong on that. Harriet Harman. Yep, she was linked to the National Council for Civil Liberties, and my wife's auntie, Lynn Proctor, claimed to know her, and they were trying to get my evidence to go through my wife's auntie via Harriet Harman, who is an MP. She was linked to the National Council for Civil Liberties, along with Patricia Hewitt, and they actually connect, which is very important to understand, to the YMCA. What did I tell you about the YMCA earlier? It was originally founded 100 years to the day before the D-Day landings in 1944. All literally deliberate, everybody. Temple Bar is the name of the pub in Dublin, Ireland. Yes, it is. I've been there. Very nice bar. Lots of live music there as well. And they're all paying to play, someone's put. Hi, Riox. Hi, everyone. Vanessa put, the government have caused every disaster on the planet. Yeah, certainly what the evidence is suggesting. They've had the ability to cause earthquakes and weather manipulation. I suspect a lot of the stuff you're seeing with the fires are possibly not all going to be real. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because, again, this ties in with, it could be they're trying to set the timing of the end of the tribulation. Okay, which could be tying with me and the end of all of this year. Could be. I'm not saying it is. Now, when you go back to the the fires of Hollywood in early 2025, I actually saw videos claiming that the fires were not as they claimed. Now, remember, the Rothschilds family died, supposedly, in those fires in Hollywood. This was as loads of stuff was going around with my evidence. Loads of people were contacting me and things were flying around with lots of big elements of the evidence. Didn't quite have the vast amounts of evidence I have now. But, yeah, I suspect they could be falsifying or actually creating some of the fires as well. I've seen some videos claiming they're creating it. Now, why would they be doing that? Well, it would be fitting of the end of the tribulation, okay, to make the world believe that the world is on fire, that all of these earthquakes are happening, to time in with a timeline of the return of Christ. And don't forget, they have artificial intelligence, and they absolutely have the ability to manipulate the information to stop information on social media and mainstream media getting from France to here, or from whatever country to here. They have the ability to stop that information. Make no mistake, everybody. All right? If you don't think they can deceive you through the control of the information, you need to think again massively. This is their biggest weapon. As soon as they control all of the information and it's linked to the international criminal network, they have a massive advantage because they can steer the agenda, they can change your minds, they can steer the narrative, they can put misinformation and disinformation and get you to fall straight into multiple traps by doing that. My email address, Ronald, yeah, I'll put it there. Ronald, I'm sorry I haven't responded to all of your messages. I'm not creating a company on Companies House. Ronald was, I understand what Ronald's trying to do, but I'm not creating a company on Companies House. Oh yeah, somebody's put it there. Vanessa has put my email address. If you look, it's GaryTheTruthSetsUsFree@gmail.com. Again, I have not had chance to respond to the emails yet, but get it in my inbox. If you have something you want to send to me, send it to me, and I will at some point look at it. But obviously, I need to prioritise what I'm doing in this, and that is getting some of this information out on lives, because it's important that they see what I'm saying, they're aware of what I'm exposing, and they know I can back everything up with the documented proof. All right, so it corners them in a position of, what are we going to do about this? How can we get out of this? You know, and it may be very well you're going to see some sort of fake alien deception agenda to try and get them out of this. But I will be responding to the emails at some point. Creation is safeguarded. No, it's not. Not when you talk about artificial intelligence potentially having no moral conscience and being in control of everything on Earth. That is a very dangerous time, my friends. Very dangerous time indeed. And that will be the first thing that we need to invert, I believe, because it's artificial in itself. It's artificial intelligence against the creator. Now, that massively links to Sherborne in Dorset, which is linked into the Church of Satan. And there's actually multiple links to artificial intelligence and the Church of Satan, everybody, and the blood of the children. Well, I've not seen you on social media for months. I have been around. Thank you very much, Danny, for your lovely comment. Really appreciate that. Is it Danny? Yeah, Danny Moose. We are living hell on earth. Yeah, a lot of people suggest that's the case. We're certainly going to end up with hell on earth if we don't resolve this. One way or another, it will be hell on earth if we don't resolve what I'm talking about here. This evidence is the key to prevent it, I promise you. The madness stops when you all do the right thing and follow my strategy. As soon as you all start following my strategy with the evidence to support it, to empower you, this ends. This starts ending. The document, you can go onto my Telegram channel, Gary, which is Gary for Freedom onto my Telegram channel, and the document is there. You have to scroll up a little bit. You'll see a number 0506, I think it is 2026, the main evidential research document. You can go and get the document from there. I hope they haven't corrupted it through there. It's possible they could have removed it and added another document, but take that chance, go and get it. And my latest document will be coming out when I get a chance. Someone's put, I'm missing, I'm spot on, but missing vital information. Thank you for your comment. This guy's he's talking good stuff, but what comments window is he? This guy is talking good stuff, but what comments window is he reading? The main comment window, the only one that's in front of me. The COVID pandemic is noted in Isaiah 65 verse 4, and God is planning rhetorical lockdown in Joel chapter 3. We are just too many and they can't handle it, even with their blood money. Yep. And now they will be very, very concerned about eternal consequences to them. If they're not, then they really, really should be, now that this evidence is coming out. And I do believe they are. I believe this could be why they are messing with technology to try and create wormholes to turn back time to undo what they have done, because they know how bad it is and they know that they're facing eternal judgment. The trouble is, what they're not understanding, potentially, if that's true, is that the Creator it won't matter whether you turn back the time, because the Creator is beyond time, matter and space. So there will still be a judgment whether you turn back time or not. So where do I get your document? Telegram channel, Gary for Freedom. Gary, check your birth numbers, Gary, for your line. They'll get some answers. Yeah, I've done the gematria on my number comes back as 146, which links to Olam, I think, or is it my name? One of them. Either I know the number 146 comes up, and there's a reference to Olam, which is universe and eternity, in my name. And there's actually an Olam company that becomes relevant. Might be off topic. Do you know anything about the Tate brothers? Yep, the Tate brothers, certainly Andrew is implicated in the centralised criminal network. And he was actually going to try and run for Prime Minister, wasn't he? And this was as I was exposing the fraud. And I suspect they are going to be relating to the Tate Gallery in all of this. And the gallery and the art network becomes relevant to all of this and the crimes against the children. It's one of those organisations where they can launder money through tangible objects, okay, and hide the money that involved in the laundering and the system they have in place. And this is the governments as well. They refinished 2015 was a defining day for their punishment event. Gary for Freedom on Telegram. The document is on there, yeah, on my Telegram channel, Gary for Freedom. Please go and get the latest document, but there is vastly more evidence in the latest document, which I will get out when I can. The Antichrist are twins. It's a twin system. Yeah, don't forget, we have to consider that some of the information may have been slightly manipulated to change the narrative as well. I'm not saying that is. But I have to seriously consider, based on what's happened to me over the last 2 or 3 weeks, that we have at least the symbolic element of the Antichrist and the Christ here on earth now. Now, if that is the case, as I've said, changes the course of history and the timeline that we're on in relation to everything that's going on. Exactly, the Batman. There is no point in waking up unless people try to prevent it, which is why my evidence is absolutely critical. It's the most important document on earth, even with all of its mistakes in there, spelling mistakes, etc., because it gives us the empowerment of the evidence of the corruption, helps us understand how it links into all of the things that have gone on in the world, and actually explains what we need to do to prevent it and ensure it never happens again. We have to stop it by waking others up. Yeah, I mean, it only takes a very small number of people to follow my strategy. And those people will be heroes and will be eternally recognized. Make no mistake. That is from both sides. Those that are instrumental in the fraud, coming forward in truth, full disclosure, and full repentance and commitment to change, and those that aren't involved instrumentally to follow the strategy that I'm giving them to compel a change in the system. Someone's put they have no Antichrist. That was taken care of. Cain and Abel were twins but different dads, someone's put. Female Freemasons are called the Eastern Stars. Yes, thank you very much. Gary, Contact A is on this live, I think. Yeah, very possibly. Contact A is somebody in Australia. I will be going into more evidence about that. Unfortunately, huge mistake when they use the F-U-C-K off words to me. That just tells me so much. And it was really quite a triggering point to support what my concerns were. But again, it's incredibly positive if that is the case. If they are knowingly or inadvertently or on purpose the symbology of the Church of the Antichrist, then that is incredibly important. Thank you very much, Alex. Yeah, it looks as though they can't actually take my life for whatever reason, which only goes to support who I may be in this. I know they know where I am. There's multiple things have happened that they know where I am, and they're not taking my life. So there's one of two things: either they don't feel as though they can, or they haven't taken the lives of many other people that we led to believe they have. Somebody's put the true third temple is the people. It's spiritual. Can't change evil spirits, someone said. Can you change people that are corrupted by an evil system and are not thinking clearly or rationally because of the system and they don't even realize it? Yes, absolutely. And you can do that by changing the system. So you actually change the bad spirits, if you want to call it that, or evil spirits within those people by changing the system. By bringing them to moral conscience. Ronald has put the second coming of Christ is in two parts. You in the flesh and Christ Almighty comes in the clouds. Thank you, Ronald. Yeah, I was thinking, am I somehow a prelude to another element of the return of Christ? So thank you very much, Ronald. It's interesting because the clouds, a lot of people have said some people have said, well, is it the clouds as in it represents the clouds through the internet, through the evidence of the being acquired through their own system, exposing them through the internet or the cloud. Some people have suggested that the case, but yeah, Ronald, one of the things I've thought is this the half-year period in the tribulation event? And maybe the 12th of August is the true half-year period, and I'm here to get people to prepare for a potential rapture on that date, and then the real second coming, or the conclusion of the second coming, occurs on the final 7-year end of the tribulation event. This is something that I thought. However, I think that the timelines and things could be changing through the evidence and through the exposure, and they may be actually using me and this evidence to change the timeline and how I'm going to become relevant in all of this. Where is the end to this? The end to this will be when the system changes, or that'll be the beginning of the end. Sorry, that will be the beginning of the end and the beginning of a new earth. Or the end will come in some sort of catastrophic change on Earth. I suspect that's not going to happen, but it's possible with the evidence that I've acquired that there is some event that may be coming. And if you listen to my live earlier, for whatever reason, I'm now linking in directly. Somebody has connected me into planet Nibiru and planet X, which is the same thing, which links into a potential 3,600 year orbit of a celestial body that could create a catastrophic event on Earth, including a polar shift, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, and all sorts. I suspect it's symbolic, and X, I suspect they've used deliberately because it relates to the bloodline of Christ in the return. I suspect, however, just be prepared. There may be some sort of event, which is why I'm asking people to prepare for the 12th of August just in case. But anyway, it's interesting, this 3,600 year orbit, there is speculation about the time of that, whether it's a bit longer or whether it's a bit before. But if you look at the timing of the well, I've got it written down, I've done the research, I'm going to be publicising all of this anyway at some point. I looked at the parting of the seas, the Red Sea, and the timing of that was, I haven't got it in front of me, so I'm going to get it wrong. So, but it became very relevant timing, but also I thought was relevant to the 3,600 years of this Planet X or Nibiru orbital cycle, is that it's almost the same as 7,000 years, which is what the Bereshit prophecy says the timescale of the existence of Earth will be from its creation to its complete and utter destruction. It has a 7,000 year period. Well, that's not far off to 3,600, is it? All right, you're talking 200 years. So I'm now thinking, is that somehow tying in with the Bereshit prophecy? I don't know that, of course, but these are all the different things I'm trying to look at in all of this. But I am linked via the Company's House records to Nibiru Limited in this. The second coming is here. He's living in a tent at the moment. Thank you for your work. Thank you very much. Welsh Warrior says the second coming is here. Now, in the Bereshit prophecy, which is what I've just alluded to, it mentions that the son of the Creator will emerge from his tent, and that at that point it will create a change on Earth. Now, I don't know if that refers to me. I could obviously consider it may relate to me. I didn't even think of getting in a tent when that video was publicised in 2018. 2018 was the year that I resigned from the police, and somebody sent me that video in 2024. At that time, I hadn't got as far along with the evidence, so I had to consider it, but it didn't become very relevant at that point. Now, it's very, very relevant. The Bereshit prophecy, which says that the first word within the Hebrew Bible told the entire story of the Bible within that first word. Now that to me suggests that the Creator may have known that the Bible may have been corrupted and put the story within the first word to prevent that corruption taking place. And apparently this Bereshit prophecy only was established very, very recently on the scale of things. And this talks about a 7,000 year period of the lifetime of Earth. And it also talks about the second coming of Christ. And it talks about the Son of the Creator emerging from his tent to change everything on Earth. Just reading through the comments. Billy Roofer from Wigan. I thought about Billy Roofer from Wigan. I've thought a lot about this stuff for a while. Glad you're here. Thank you very much, Billy. It's quite mind blowing, isn't it? Who'd have thought, 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you'd be actually listening to all of this being spoken about and commented on it. It's really quite remarkable, isn't it? It's definitely coming to an end, everybody, somehow. It has to. The world cannot keep living under a shadow of crime and deception, and the poor children potentially being targeted in all of this. Is this live available to see later, as I've not joined? No, unfortunately not. You'd have to. You can re-upload it. You can download it and then re-upload it. It's not like YouTube where it automatically puts it on there. I'll have a little look because I think it has been quite a beneficial one, to be honest with you, probably more than normal. So 19 in Strong Concordance is slaughter. Interesting. Okay, 2019. Well, you've got the company called Slaughter and May, which is right the way throughout the research. Slaughter and May was founded in 1954. Incorporated in 1954 in the Company's House records, and that is the year that CERN was founded as well. And that Slaughter and May is a criminal organisation. Go and type in Slaughter and May. You'll see, I think it's Slaughter and May Limited, could be. Go and look at the incorporation document, does not match its register on Companies House. That is used in a lot throughout the fraud. And interesting, they choose the word May, Slaughter and May. Well, the month of May is when Madeleine McCann went missing on the 3rd of May 2007, the same year that I was introduced to Exbourne Manor and my wife, and Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited was incorporated on Companies House. Someone's put, if they really get exposed, everything will fall apart. They built this world in their demonic image. Well, if it falls apart from their doing, all they're going to be doing, and I think they're starting to realise this, is digging themselves a bigger eternal problem. All right? As I keep saying to them, you know, and I am trying to help, believe it or not, I'm trying to help them in this as well, eternally, through full disclosure of the truth, repentance, and a commitment to change. They can all be saved spiritually, I believe. But the judgment may be just in its approach through the Creator. And what I mean by that is that will be taken into account. All the time there is no truth, there is no repentance, then of course that is also taken into account. All right, and remember, forgive them for they know not what they do. Well, now the entire world is almost at the point where nobody can use that as an excuse, including those. If those, someone that said, if those days were not cut short, no flesh will be saved. Thank you, Truth to Life. Someone's put, bring them to judicial review in every county. Go through the audits for deception. Yeah, that's what will, you know, that will have to happen at some point. But if they come forward in truth, that will be taken into account. And to be honest with you, my view is this is so serious and so critical now. Anyone that comes through in full disclosure of the truth and repentance and a commitment to change, my view, and I'll have to think about this, is that there is a clean slate for those people and that there is no consequences potentially facing them on earth in this. And potentially they will be saved eternally through the eternal salvation. Could you tell me all this in a simpler way, please? Yeah, okay, Tanya. So the international governments have a criminal system in place involving the forgery of company incorporations and documents. This creates criminal entity companies, which facilitates or allows the laundering of money in relation to a problem, reaction, solution criminal network. So in other words, what they've got is forgery, which removes accountability and liability. All right, so it removes any comeback on them, or they think it does, by having this forgery in place. All right, they've allowed false names and false addresses to be used. This is tied to the taxation system, right, which is linked to the sex trade, drug trade, conflicts, terrorism, blood of children, okay, and the collider technology. So this system, because it's linked to the taxation system, they can steal money from the masses and launder it into offshore accounts and provide false figures through the councils to the local authorities, all right, to the local constituents. That money is getting funneled offshore that you don't see into facilitating the problem, reaction, solution criminal network. So, of course, this means it motivates all of the world's problems. Because where is the motive to remove the problems? Because if they remove the problems, how can they continue to request more money from you via taxes if there is no problems for those taxes to be paying for? So let's put it in a very simple form. If there is minimal crime, how can they justify more money going into the police when the crime is actually going down? So they will know that. So they then can falsify the crime rates, either through the figures or actually creating crime or the illusion of crime, all right, or events, to then request more money from you. See how this works? It's a problem, reaction, solution. Now, for example, the alcohol and the drugs, massive money maker for them. Of course it is. Do they want to resolve the problems caused by alcohol and drugs? No. No. Because they're behind the resolution for those problems, the rehabilitation for those problems, as well as being behind the alcohol and the drugs themselves. You see? And they can also use that to manipulate individuals and target individuals, right? By using the taboo of a problem with alcohol or a problem with drugs. And this facilitates the removal of children from families as well. When they are behind that deception of a problem reaction solution criminal network, claiming that there is an alcohol problem or a drug problem within family, to then be able to then, through the criminal courts, remove those children from those families. And these children can then be put into the bloodstock industry, the organ harvesting industry, and the sex trade. It's awful, everybody. All right, so all of the time this fraud is in place, you have a motive for the lies and the motive for problems to actually be manufactured deliberately. As soon as you remove that motive, there is no need to create problems anymore. All right, and there is actually only a motive to resolve all problems, to actually help, really help addicts or people suffering from mental health or any of these other problems that may have occurred that are genuine somehow. Now, they're behind most of the mental health problems because of the system. All right, people overworked, people suffering from illnesses that they have created, I suspect, from the evidence, right? People that have separated in relationships because of the stress of finances or the sexual immorality, which they are also fueling through the pornography, everybody, because they are behind the pornography industry. These are people that are linked to religious organizations, right? Knowing that this would escalate a tribulatory event on earth and potentially lead to the end of all of creation. Now, let me just talk about the pornography element of this, because people will be saying, yeah, but it's no harm. It's no harm, is it? Look, think about this in a moralistic point of view. So if you are in a relationship with somebody and you are supposed to be attentive only to that person and love that person, and you start watching something that draws your attention away from that person, that very quickly can lead to other elements of pornography. And they know that, all right, whether it be degrading pornography towards women or towards men. That then, and they're allowing this, everybody, make no mistake, they could stop this at any point. These people behind the centralized criminal system are allowing the pornography, degrading pornography, and the paedophilia on the back of that to be available to the public. Okay? They are allowing it, everybody. Make no mistake. So it separates relationships. It destroys relationships without people even realizing. Because the women then feel that they need to be degraded because that's how they keep a man, or vice versa. The other way around, because it's been normalized within pornography. Right? When what will happen is, not necessarily in those that are now caught up in this initial system of corruption and evil that is from this, but with the new system, okay, there will be no motive to separate and destroy families and relationships. And you imagine people being not brought up with pornography, okay, leading into harsher crimes, into immoral sexual activity in real life, but also leading into potentially criminal sexual activity, whether it's online or offline. You will find that people will be true to the real relationship that they're in. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that relationship will work, right? But it means that you don't have an outside influence working against the moral conscience, because that is a moral conscience dilemma, okay, with the pornography. Because I can guarantee you that a lot of people that are watching pornography end up feeling guilty for what they are watching, and that then destroys them internally. It's a vicious counteraction cycle against them, and they don't even realize. And it is by design, because these people behind this system will know that that's what's happening. They will know that they're creating guilt. They will know that they're creating immoral decisions. And every time you make a decision that you know to be wrong, you end up targeting yourself through guilt. It may be something small, it may be something big, but it ends up eating you up inside. And this is within our DNA. This is why moral conscience is so critical. And the Creator, I believe, knew that moral conscience was critical as a self-preservation protection system within humanity to protect you from yourself, but protect humanity from you as well. Right? Not a control system. Because I can tell you now, when you have moral conscience as your foundation, you are incredibly empowered and you feel alive and you feel good about yourself. And you can honestly put your hand on your heart and say, well, I'm doing the best that I can do. And I don't feel guilt or as much guilt because I have that on my sleeve. The moral foundation is there. Not my sleeve, it's there within the root of my every being and everything that I'm doing. I'm thinking about what whether I do something, whether it is right or wrong, and the implications that could have. This is a protection system given by the Creator that has been removed from you all. Yes, everything has a ripple effect. Someone's put, hi, Jock. Is that Jock? Or Jack? Flat Earth with Taurus field goes in new period like the, what does that say? Prague astronomic clock. Oh, Prague astronomic clock. Yeah, the Corpus clock. Corpus clock was actually unveiled on the same day that there was by Stephen Hawking, on the same day that there was a technical fault at the Large Hadron Collider. The Large Hadron Collider was first activated in September 2008, which becomes relevant to me, and then I think it was 9 days later there was a fault that occurred with that technology. They've tried to hide the information, but I've got evidence secured proving that there was a fault occurred and that they were trying to hide that fault occurred with the Large Hadron Collider. And that links to my dream. I'm going to head off. I'm getting really hungry, actually. What's the new system? Very simple. At least on a transitional basis, a transparent system. So, for example, just on a transitional basis until the creases are ironed out, you'll be able to log on to a government account, which will be a secondary account. First one would be where they have personal payments coming in relation to council tax, for example. That secondary account, you will be able to log on to and see the money at source, where you will see a collective periodic income going into that account for council tax, for example. You will then see referenced expenditure coming from that account. For example, this month, X amount to police, X amount to bin removal, X amount to fire brigade, or whatever. Straight away, we start to have a better understanding as to what finances really are required to run society. That is essential, at least on a transitional basis. The new system would then need full verification of company and corporations. So true verification of people's names and addresses in relation to company and corporations. The governments and their organisations are still, even with this exposure of the evidence, deliberately trying to remove the accountability and liability through the verification process. So in other words, they are still allowing false names and false addresses to be used by company and corporations. This shows you how desperate they are to do it. I've got the evidence to prove that is the case. So that needs to be done by the leadership organisations, not a third-party organisation, which is what they're claiming is happening through verification by a secondary company. So for example, if I was a company, a director within a company, I can go to another company who can claim that they verified my details, and then they tell Companies House that they verified my details. But what if my company and that other company is also part of the fraud, which I have the evidence proving that is what's happening. So in other words, you have a corrupt company verifying a corrupt company, telling Companies House that they have verified it. That means they're trying to remove the accountability from the government. That means they are conspiring to allow international fraud, crimes against children to continue. Everybody. They all can be and need to be arrested if they do not remove themselves. And that will come after the removal of the solicitors first, which is why I'm telling you, you need to focus on citizens' arrests of the solicitors as a matter of priority. As a priority, you need to be arresting the solicitors and giving the police the chance for to come along and arrest those individuals and take them to the police station. If they don't, then you expose the police as well to the crimes against the children, the blood of the children, the blood of the innocent, all right, and the skinning and torturing of those children according to all of the research. So new system. Also, I suspect what we would need is a so that could happen in multiple financial institutions, not just in relation to local council tax. So, for example, that could be the case with property in a leasehold building. So if you have a big block of flats and you're a leasehold owner, you're not a freeholder or on the board of directors or anything like that, you should have access to the finances of that building. Right, be able to see, not access the money, but be able to see through transparency where the money is being spent in relation to that building. This is one of the things they've been doing. So they've been laundering the money through the real estate. Right, this is what they've been doing. Right, it's obvious. That's how I found out about this, is through a real estate company. So as soon as you have these things, along with various other things that I believe need to happen, you will immediately start to create heaven on earth. Transparency, equality, fairness, integrity for everybody. Because you can imagine being a leader, can't you? If you were a leader for a local authority area and you knew that every single constituent in that area had the ability to look at the finances that you are helping to make decisions to spend, I'm not going to be touching those finances. Nobody's going to be touching those finances. It's not foolproof, of course, but it will be, like I said, on a transitional basis. That is now absolutely essential. I believe there needs to be a secondary payment system in force completely. No full digital control, because that gives them the ability to freeze people's accounts and to take all of their money. You need the ability to peacefully protest by the withholding of public spending money. Right, that is essential. Now I have exposed this international government fraud. There's no harm with having digital currency as well, but there needs to be a secondary payment system in force until we know otherwise, based on what I have uncovered. We must protect the children, we must protect humanity, we must protect creation. Of course, this provides the motive for the destruction of nature. All right, there is no motive to actually think, well, do we need to build a massive area of new houses? The motive is, yes, let's just keep building, grow back better, build bigger, better. Have you noticed it's all about expansion, growth? That's because of this international government fraud, okay? Because if they don't do that and they don't create a problem and you to believe that that's what needs to happen, then they're not going to be able to continue their laundering system in the way that they have been. And don't forget, this is paying for very, very likely their addictions as well, which is a bottomless pit. All right, as soon as somebody has an addiction to a controlled substance such as cocaine, you're talking a bottomless pit of money. If you have multiple people within government running governments around the world that are also addicted to cocaine, where do you think a vast amount of that money being defrauded from you is going? Okay, yes. And don't forget their luxury holidays, their properties, their cars, etc., etc., on top of the addiction problem, because they're behind the drugs as well as the rehabilitation. And of course, they're connected into the sex industry, which and orgy parties and orgy fest. This is why the special advisor for the last few prime ministers, Douglas Smith, actually set up Fever Sex Parties, which was an under 40-year-old orgy fest. So with that comes the alcohol. With that will be coming the drugs that they're also behind. What is being used? Stolen. Bottomless pit of money. Obviously, the regulation of currency production needs to be maintained in a way that it has, because obviously what they've been doing, this is a big part of how they managed to get to this point, is they've corrupted the actual monetary production, so the producer of the notes and the coins, to then buy out enough people around the world to centralise the criminal system. This is why Portals, which was created in 1711 in Hampshire, in the south of England, is probably the most important place on earth in relation to everything being exposed. That's where it began monetary control over the world. That started producing the Bank of England in 1794, and then it was appointed in 1995, the same year as the Hacker International Advisory Board linked to the Intelligence Agency, and is also linked to me on page 40 of the Royal Foundation. It's a lot to take on. It is a lot to take on. Look, it's all about transparency, everybody. That is what they've removed. Transparency, accountability, liability. As soon as you bring back those things, you start to bring heaven on earth. Right? Now, you're going to have a lot of problems with rehabilitation, but the rehabilitation will be in place as genuine rehabilitation. There's no reason not to actually rehabilitate people from the addictions, you see, because it will stop the international drug trafficking down, or at least minimise it. Have you thought of building a core team to work with you? Yeah, I tried that over the last 4 years. It ended up they were corrupted. This is the trouble, you see, they're infiltrating everything I do. I need you to form local groups that I can then liaise with, if necessary, remotely. They're corrupting, they're infiltrating everything, unfortunately. Don't forget, you've got people that are corrupted in many ways. It may be they're corrupted by the finances, the sex, the drugs, the blood, a cult. You know, they might be part of the Doomsday Cult. There's so many different people corrupted in this. Have you looked at 33 Limited Companies House? No, I haven't. Thank you very much. Where are all your followers gone? A lot of them are being kicked off. I'm being told that people are being kicked off. It will never happen. There's no one to charge them. It's not about the charging, it's about the exposure through the arrest. Follow the arrest or face the consequences. That is what I'm suggesting you all do. It's not about the charges at this point, it's about the exposure through the arrest to cause a ripple through the system. With their faces on, with the right name, words to the international fraud and the crimes against the children. No one will want to work for the solicitors, no one will want to be an accountant. It starts buckling the system. Can you tell us the group in charge of all of this? Very difficult to say. You know, you can have a lot of people that are compromised by this. You probably, whether the black nobility family members are even real, I don't know. There's a lot of evidence to suggest black nobility family members are massively implicated in this. You could, in theory, have a very small number of people on one hand, even, right, running this entire system through the centralised criminal networks in place. Believe it or not, that's possible at the very top. But of course, they've manipulated and controlled everybody below that through the money, through the sex, and through the drugs. What can you do? You need to make citizens' arrests of the solicitors and expose those arrests. That's what Elaine has asked. And you don't need to be physically able, it's just about saying words to a solicitor and exposing those words through video everywhere. I advise you form local groups around this evidence, not on social media. Social media is compromised too much. You need to form local groups, whether that be go knocking on doors, asking for a coffee morning, just to break the ice and start talking about it in a small way and build up to the bigger subjects. You need to be doing that sort of thing now. Start building local groups. Government is overriding council's planning permission. Noise, Gary. Well, no sound. Can't hear. We can't hear you. Okay, they've stopped the sound then. Okay, so it looks like they're stopping the sound. Okay. No, can you hear me now? No sound. Yeah, so they're stopping it. Oh, you can hear me now. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm just coming to the okay, that's good. I can hear. Okay, so you can hear me now. That's good. I didn't even know the sound had gone, obviously, because I'm a bit behind on the comments here. It went earlier as well, apparently. Yeah, I'm back for the beat with the Renegade Master. Are we back? My favourite movie, Terminator 2. Judgment Day. Look, everybody, look, there's a reason that's my favourite movie, and it links to me, everybody. Judgment Day. Yeah, you really need to get behind this evidence. You really, really do. I cannot emphasise it enough. 10 minutes of no sound. Oh, sorry about that. No, my finger was not on the mic. So, just a little bit of a summary. Every single area of research that I come in from, it's linking back into me, into this. There's obviously an international government collaboration of a project or operation regarding me. So much evidence about that. They staged my introduction to Exbourne Manor, which was already linked to Jimmy Savile. There must have been a reason that they did that. And then somebody that told me that Jimmy Savile had lived in that building later said I was Jesus. They actually made the comment that I'm Jesus. That person is also linked into the International Criminal Network. And I suspect this was to lead me possibly to the Bleeding Yew Tree in the church in Wales, which links to evidence of the true history of Christ potentially, and how this is all tying in to the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Henley Castell, which is the archaeological site in Wales, the only one of its type in the entire United Kingdom, with an iron foundation and roundhouses above it, which has been excavated for 25 years at least, and it links massively into the criminal network as well. So I think they're hiding probably the truth of Christ in relation to that location. This also is in the pilgrimage route for St David's Cathedral, which is in the northwest corner of Pembrokeshire in Wales, which is where my nan was born, supposedly. Oh, there's a lot of relevance to the Terminator movies and the Matrix movies as well, leading in. Massive connections. John Connor, same initials as Jesus Christ. Loads of references. You've got Terminator Genesis. You've got Judgment Day. You've also got Salvation. The first part of the Matrix movies that came out in 1999, which is the re-establishment of the Church of Satan. They were going to be, that's linked into, I think they were going to be calling it The Immortals, which becomes relevant to all of my evidence. Anyway, that movie had, what was his surname? Anderson. Can't remember his first name, Anderson. There's a company called, whatever the first name is, Go Straight to Me. Okay? Straight to Me in this, same companies in all of this. That's the character that Keanu Reeves was using. Then he became Neo, or was Neo in the alternative element, I think. And then when he died as Neo, he was resurrected as the One, which is an anagram of Neo. Anyway, there's loads of links into this. There's references that Neo is actually Christ, and the resurrection there related to the second coming, potentially in this. And it all ties into the Terminator movies as well, and I've done all of the research around it. It's really quite mind-blowing. It all becomes very relevant. And they were both, John Connor and Neo and Anderson, were both trying to prevent humanity's being taken over by the machines. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do. Gary, are you aware of the Tartarians? Yes, thank you very much. I have heard about the Tartaria. I haven't done a lot of research around it. It has cropped up once or twice. But yes, thank you. I am aware of them, but need to do more research, really. Notice they link the portals in the Terminator movies. Yes, thank you, Carla. Yes, absolutely. Yes, and Portals, don't forget, is the name of the, as I said earlier, the currency producer in 1711 in the south of England, in Hampshire, that ended up creating the centralised financial system around the world. Okay, I think I'm done for now. I'm going to go and have some food. Thank you so much for listening to me. Didn't intend to come on and talk about this. I was trying to do a video showing the evidence, and I tried about 20 or 30 times, and I just could not get it right and what I was trying to say. So I thought I'm just going to go on live. I will still aim to do that because it is important that I show some of the latest evidence, which is pretty mind-blowing, supporting this. And also, I mean, I've got so much evidence now, it's overwhelming. It's knowing what evidence I show first, to be honest with you. So I suppose it's the evidence that I think is going to have the biggest impact with everybody. So I will be trying to do that over the next couple of days. But obviously, it's not far away until the 12th of August. 8 days. So just prepare yourself for anything really that day. Maybe nothing, possibly symbolic. But there's a lot of evidence surrounding that date. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care of yourselves. All the best. Bye. Bye.